Right. Good evening. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our Township website. Please stand to salute the flag.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Purvis?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Sacramento?
Here.
Mr. Stoller?
Present.
Mayor Romano?
Here. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the March 19th regular Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the March 19th, 2024 Special Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, Committeewoman Prupus, you're scheduled to present proclamation for Arbor Day.
Yes, thank you. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our cities increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beauty of our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the Township of Millburn has been recognized as a tree city by USA by the National Arbor Foundation and desire to continue its tree planting practices. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Committee of the Township of Millburn in the County of Essex, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2024 as Arbor Day and urge all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our township's urban forestry program. Signed, Mayor Annette Vermont.
Thank you. Okay, reports. Committeeman Stoller, would you like to begin?
Sure. Okay, we'll begin with the Recreation Committee. Girls softball programs and track and field are starting up. Volleyball and T-ball are also starting in coming weeks. We have the 40th annual fishing derby on Saturday, May 4th, and the annual 4-miler race has been scheduled for Sunday, June 2nd. The SID Restaurant Week was a major success. Saw a lot of people out and about dining in Millburn. It was fantastic. Had over 40 restaurants, bakeries, food and drink retailers participate. The team posted 24 Instagram reels with over 193,000 plays and reached over 121,000 individual accounts. Next major event is Founding Day, as Tara just said. Nothing to report on the joint fields. Dispatch, nothing to report at this time. I've been promising an update on the flood mitigation, so I'll just give that real quick. During the storm on March 23rd, we had experienced some minor flooding from pooling or runoff, but avoided any real river flooding. I actually had a chance to ride along with Fire Chief Echeverria, who took me across town and showed me all of the different efforts we've taken, and also early warning systems. It was a great ride along. I put some pictures of it up on the social media as well. In terms of what we're doing with some of the different parts of town, we actually met with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and started a reassessment effort for improvements across the Greater Rahway River, and hoping that we can help contribute to the design and planning work to meet our specific needs here in Millburn. We have an installation of the improved drainage system in the East Branch, which is down along Ridgewood Drive and Greenwood Drive. So that's going to start seeing that work become evident pretty soon. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Committeeman.
Yeah. Excuse me. I would just like to mention again that the annual book fair at the public library is coming soon. The collection period starts on April 8th, and the book sale, which is a major fundraiser for the Friends of the Millburn Library, will be held on May 4th. The other thing I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if it goes here, but I'm going to say it here anyway. We've been asked by a couple of members of the public, Ms. Morgan and Mr. Fines, that wanted to know how much money we have spent on the 9 Main Street project to date. So thanks to our CFO, I was able to get the numbers. And to date, we have spent $381,000 on that, most of which is legal costs or costs for our environmental consultant.
Deputy Mayor Secretary.
The Environmental Commission will be having a special information session about ways to reduce the environmental impact of lawn care on April 11th at 7 p.m. And all are encouraged to join. so that they can learn about potential ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions while caring for your lawn. For the Historic Preservation Commission, so actually later in this meeting, there's going to be a resolution to appoint a resident to a vacant HPC spot. Spoken to a number of members of the HPC. From an HPC perspective, this particular appointment is quite controversial. And as the liaison for the HPC, I feel it is my responsibility to put the following on the record. The HPC is a municipal land use board with well-defined purposes. The HPC's mission is twofold. First, they are responsible for identifying historic assets in town and nominating them for historic designation. And second, they are responsible for helping to protect historic assets that have already been designated. The HPC does not have the power to designate any properties. Instead, they make their recommendations to the Township Committee and the Planning Board. Given the purpose of the Historic Preservation Commission, it seems completely unreasonable to me for this committee to appoint anyone who has taken a public position against the HPC's mission. The individual up for nomination tonight, Venkatesh, has had a public position against the HPC, and in private conversations I have had directly with him, he has made it clear that he is against any new historic districts. I can understand the appeal of having dissenting opinions on this board, but the nature and extent of the opposition stated by this individual goes beyond what is acceptable for a municipal land use board such as the Historical Preservation Commission. To better illustrate the absurdity of this nomination, let's consider the following analogy. If you were running a nonprofit focused on improving mathematics education, of course you would welcome individuals with different views relating to teaching, but it would be counterproductive to put someone who questions the very value of mathematics itself on the board. Dissenting opinions can only be constructive when there is a common baseline from which to proceed. Denying the very value of historic preservation and being supported by members of the community who have been the most vocal in tearing down the mission of the HBC, going so far as to signpost on their lawns the declaration "No New Historic Districts," completely disqualifies this appointment in my view. From my count, at least a dozen other individuals applied to be considered for an HBC position. I'd love to know later on from Mayor Romano, of these dozen or so applicants, how many were actually interviewed before this appointment was made. Furthermore, was Venkatesh part of the closed door meeting the mayor recently had with residents of the Marywood Nottingham district? If so, this speaks of a backroom deal. In light of all I have just said, I will be making a motion later on when we get to the resolutions for this appointment to be removed from the agenda so that the Township Committee has more time to interview the remaining applicants and find a volunteer who is further in alignment with the defined purpose of the HBC. The end of my reports.
Committee with purpose.
No reports there.
Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, a few brief reports. One is just want to remind residents and visitors of the PSE&G work that is taking place at night from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. at the intersection of Milburn Avenue and Spring Street. This is to tie in all of the work that everybody's experienced in the Washington section to the gas main that runs down Milburn Avenue. This is approximated for 2 weeks, obviously weather permitting, for that closure overnight. In addition, paving from PSE&G to restore the Washington and Glenwood areas is scheduled to start with milling on 4/8, and paving will start on 4/12, on April 12th. In addition to our notification to the public that has already gone out and is on our social media channels and website, PSE&G will be notifying individual residents of their paving activities. Letting residents know that there is going to be a police department public information session on April 17th at 12 p.m. via Zoom. We're asking residents to provide their questions prior to let us know at milburntwp.org. This is a way for the police department to concisely and prepare answers to those questions that residents may have, and also give information about what's currently happening in the municipality as it relates to their activities, crime, and different things like that. An update on the affordable housing side, as many residents may know, Woodmont was one of the properties that was, or one of the developers that was included in the township settlement agreement. They were looking to develop watershed property at the New Jersey American Water Treatment Plant, approximately 8 acres. They had to go to the Watershed Property Review Board for that approval in order to move forward with that. The township back in 2021 had passed an ordinance to zone for that area pending the approval of the Watershed Property Review Board. The meeting was held at the Watershed Property Review Board on 3/26 and it was approved. That is 195 units that will produce 39 affordable units in the municipality. That order is also located on the township's website under our affordable housing page, which also includes all the information about the various stages of affordable housing and the projects and developments in the township. On April 18th at 7 p.m., there will be a Zoom meeting for flood preparedness and resiliency. We are going to have Thomas Song from who is a FEMA Region 2 resiliency specialist, and Tyler Ardron, who is from Risk Reduction Plus, to present to the public about flooding and things that you can do to prepare yourself as well as protect your property. And that includes insurance as well. Just to piggyback on the Arbor Day resolution or a proclamation, the township will be giving out free tree saplings on Arbor Day at the Public Works Yard. So please stop by and grab your sapling. That is all I have.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm filling in for Township Attorney Jared Cantor tonight. My name is Richard Birch. I'm an associate at Mr. Cantor's firm. I'm well versed in the affordable housing litigation. Just to provide an update, today was the deadline for us to file reply briefs for the motions that the township filed, as well as RPM and Fair Share Housing Center. Fair Share Housing Center has not filed their reply brief yet. RPM filed theirs a little bit ago. But we have a court hearing on April 9th at 2 p.m. It's in person at the historic courthouse in Newark before Judge Santamoro. And that's really all the update I have for you.
Thank you. The only comment I have on the HPC appointment is most people get involved and want to serve on committees and boards and run for office because they're angry at something. So I respect our volunteers and I appreciate all the time and the commitment that they give to our community. And I just also want to announce the Essex County Clerk's Office has a QR code now available that gives you all information on voter registration, poll worker information, early voting, vote by mail, etc. And there's some flyers with the QR code if anyone's interested. Public comment.
Well,
Oh,
I have
I'm
one
sorry.
more piece to add. We've also been working with, you've started to see some of these crime updates in town, giving some updates and more frequent updates. We've been speaking with the Essex County. We spend a lot of money in Essex County. We spend $50 million. We pay them in taxes. So we've been working with Essex County, and big kudos to the mayor. They're now going to start helping us patrol some of our neighborhoods and assist us in giving us some more firepower, if you will, no pun intended, in terms of helping move across some of our lesser patrolled neighborhoods at night. Some of the neighborhoods are hiring some of their own security firms. We think this will actually help reduce some of those needs, but Essex County is stepping up. I spent a lot of time with some of the Essex County sheriffs. Our in-town police officers are fantastic as well. It's just one additional layer of protection that we're trying to bring forward for our town. So thanks.
Thank you, Committeeman. We also did increase patrols in the neighborhood, and Mr. McDonald is working with the police chief on other measures that we hope to put forth in the coming weeks.
So just to piggyback on that, just so that residents are aware, yes, we have been communicating now when there are home burglaries or attempted home burglaries, so that our residents are aware, so they can take the necessary steps to ensure that their property is secure. as well as increased patrols. That we are up about 40%, if you extrapolate what we've done so far this year over last year. And again, continued conversations, continued efforts. Obviously, it's on the forefront of everyone's mind, as you've just heard, and we'll continue those efforts.
And you should also remember that, as residents, we need your help. So, we need you to make sure that you lock your doors and lock your cars and, check on your neighbors. When you go on vacation, don't take a picture of yourself at Newark Airport. People don't need to know that you're going away. Save those pictures for when you come home. Public comment. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and/or property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and are readily available to the public. For the convenience of our community, there is a remote option. If you called in and would like to comment, please press *6 now. If you're attending by computer or electronic device, please click the raise hand button and be sure your video is on when you comment. All members of the public wishing to speak will be put into the queue to address the committee. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there's 30 seconds remaining. A reminder that this is not a time for dialogue or to debate a matter, and this is a time during our business meeting for the public to offer their comments. I will now open the public comment period.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Rena. My name is Rima Jaffer. Nadia Halim. We're all Millburn Short Hills residents. We are representing the Muslims of Millburn and Short Hills, and we are just here for a happy, smiley time to thank you all as the town council and the mayor. We are celebrating the month of Ramadan right now, and we would love for all of you to join us for a Eid celebration. So that's the holiday that finishes the holy month. It is on April 21st at the Bauer Center, and we would love to share some baklava, if that's okay with you. It's sealed. So this is for you. It's to share, and a card, just a thank you card for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mubarak Ramadan.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Ted Kuntz. I've been a resident for probably 40 years. I guess I just want to talk about the Historical Preservation Committee as well. I'm not quite as articulate as Frank, but I have the same passion. I think, the criteria you should consider when selecting a new member, it certainly has to be the interest and the passion for history. The person should have a very strong passion for understanding and protecting our historical landmarks. This is essential. And we need a person who believes in the mission, as Frank said, of the HPC, and not someone who may be opposed to it. They also have to have relevant knowledge and community involvement. We need a commitment to the cultural heritage of the town and not with a focus to redevelop it. We also need someone who has a time commitment of being able to attend the regular meetings, site visits, and contribute to ongoing projects. Now, as Frank mentioned, and I know myself, there are several other nominations for this position, namely Mike Moran and Christine Best, both of whom expressed some interest. Now, I've known Mike for 30 years, 30 plus years. He's been a town resident for longer than that. I think he's one of the most thoughtful and analytically intelligent persons that I could think of. He lives in an historic district. He's a great communicator and has the time to commit because he just recently retired. So he's got lots of time. So the question to you guys is, who has been vetted for this position? And what is the recommendation of Allison Canfield, the HPC president? And what is the recommendation of the HPC committee itself? They should have a big say in who they want on their committee. So we need someone who's very committed to the historical preservation effort and who can understand the facts about local designation efforts and who is able to communicate and educate the public to help eliminate the false narratives that have been spread so recently. So rushing through a nominee without considering the viable alternatives is exactly the process you guys want to avoid. So let's do it properly and let's take the time to get the best candidate that we can. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Scott Redler. I'm a resident of Milburn. First of all, I want to thank all of you up here for dedicating your time and effort to making the town of Milburn a better place. Many people in the town actually just complain, they rant, they make noise, and they don't put in the time or effort to make changes. You guys sit up here, you dedicate your time away from your family, your friends, and you do your best to make bold decisions in order to make Milburn a better place by hopefully using common sense with stats and with backing, but progressive looking forward. So like all of you here, I moved to Milburn Short Hills in 2012 for probably some of the same reasons as everyone. You know, everyone came from great schools. They wanted to be close to the city, kind of work hard, play hard, youth sports, a great downtown, you know, shops and restaurants, you know, and hopefully by the time they leave Milburn, they could sell their house for a little bit more than they paid for it. Like, right, the American dream right there, which a lot of us have here in Milburn. But with that, with the experience, you know, towns need to evolve, make changes, and create special situations. So since I know I only have about 3 minutes, I'm gonna go through it very fast because I've experienced a lot in my time here in Milburn, and I've seen many things that needed to be changed. Okay, one of the first things I witnessed when I came here was through youth sports. I saw that there were grass fields, there was very limited space, there were no turf fields. We'd go to other towns to play soccer, to play lacrosse, and they had beautiful turf fields, lights, and great accommodations. And one of the things that needed to be changed was turf fields. So for about a year or two, I witnessed the backlash of those saying we can't put a turf field at the library, okay, because it's going to create traffic for the library, it's going to create noise, and it's going to change the experience at the library. And some individuals in the town council took bold steps and helped create the turf field at the library. So now, fast forward, there's about 65% more usage at that field. And if you ask any youth sport coach and any kid that goes there and plays, they have pride in their town and their sport because they have the proper resources and a great turf field. But it took the bold steps of the town council to go through with it because there were many people in this room that were talking about the lights would obstruct the neighbors, the noise would interfere with the library, et cetera, and it went through. That's 3 minutes already? Oh, geez. All right. So next Oktoberfest, 8 years ago, okay, there was a bold town council that wanted to, you know, to help that process go by. They said, what do you mean we're going to close Taylor Park? What do you mean we're going to have a beer garden? What do you mean, you know, we're going to close the streets down? You know, and there was a committee that put it together. And after going through many hoops, PS 8 years later, there were 5,000 attendees.
I'm sorry, your time is up. I'm sorry. There's a lot of people that want to speak. I'm sorry.
You get a second time at the end.
Yeah,
Can I have 30 more seconds?
I can, I'm sorry.
At the end of the meeting. Give
Well-
another opportunity.
Hello, thank you. My name is Mike Moran. I'd like to be considered for the Historic Preservation Committee, and I'd like to thank Ted for that nice plug that you gave me. I've been a resident of Milburn Short Hills for 37 years. I've recently retired, and I'm looking to stay engaged and be involved in something. And to me, the Preservation Committee strikes me as a wonderful opportunity. I'm not angry, I'm just interested in preserving this community. Before I retired, I was an economist on Wall Street, and being an economist, I'm interested in promoting growth. That's really ultimately what the field is all about. Economists want to promote growth. But I'm interested in promoting intelligent growth. And I think what's happened in the community recently, in the past several years, is a lot of things are going on that are not promoting intelligent growth. And I think the Preservation Committee is a strong tool to promote intelligent growth in the community. If we don't think things through clearly, we're just not going to be able to have good, solid, sustainable growth in the economy, in the township. Some of the things that are being considered are just going to strain the resources of the community. The roads are not well suited to handle some of the high-rise projects that are being talked about now. Traffic in this town is going to be a nightmare Our sewer systems, I'm told, I hear, are not up to snuff in handling all the additional people that will be in town. Our schools will be bursting at the seams, and quality, if you're bursting at the seams, undoubtedly is going to go downhill. So I think it's important to think all these things through, and I think the Historical Preservation Committee would be an effective tool in promoting intelligent growth in the community. And as I said, I'm not angry, but I'm interested in promoting this intelligent growth in Millburn. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Feld. I live in the poet section for almost more than 30 years. I'm just going to talk about some of the resolutions that are on the agenda packet, some questions I have. The first one is when you look at the bill list, a red flag warning is when you look and you see that there's some bills being paid from last year or been held back, such as the GIF insurer and topology. I bring that up because I had experience in Orange where they sat some bills in their drawers for about $1.5 million, but that's some red flag warning that we had to have. There's an interesting resolution today where we're transferring the duties and functions of our local assistance board to Essex County. Why? What's the sudden need? How many people does the local assistance board service in this town? 2 years ago or a year ago, I asked the prior municipal attorney whether the Democratic chair could sit on the local assistance board, because the way I read state statute, you couldn't. I don't know the answer to these questions, but I'd like to have an answer from our municipal attorney. It's interesting that the JFK cell tower bid, that was an issue for the last 2 years. Why did it suddenly appear? Is it for revenues? Did East Orange not put their tower on the golf course? And what is Ms. Best was here because she would talk about 5G. I'm happy that there's gonna be the introduction of the calendar year budget. I hope you'll tell us tonight when there will be the public forum, not the public hearing, but the public questionnaire educational forum, because there's some questions I have on the budget. There's also a resolution that's not on the consent agenda where you're authorizing the cancellation of operating fund appropriations. When you cancel that, where do those funds go? Does it stay in the parking authority, or does it go into our general township ability? My time is about, I will speak later on the ordinances, but one thing I was shocked, I don't know how many times I've been standing up here asking for an accounting as to how much money we expended on the 9 Main Street. But because I'm a dissenter, I didn't get a response. But today we finally heard of an amount of $381,000. I guess you have to be in the club to get the answers.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mike Stotts. I'm the Executive Director of Paper Mill Playhouse. Mayor Romano, Deputy Mayor Saccomandi, and the rest of the Township Committee, on behalf of Mark Kobe, our Producing Artistic Director, and Carolyn Farrellito, our Board Chair, and the entire Paper Mill staff and Board of Trustees, many of whom are here this evening. I want to thank all of you for the very productive conversations we have all had here and in public sessions over the last several months regarding the Paper Mill campus and the much needed repairs, refurbishments, and upgrades that are necessary for improving safety, accessibility, and the overall aesthetic of our theater. Paper Mill is the most important economic driver for the downtown Millburn core. An investment in our infrastructure improvements will go far in ensuring the long-term viability and success of the theater, and we're grateful for your support. Just this afternoon, I received a letter which I'll deliver here from the Chamber of Commerce, also supporting our project. And I'll just read a short paragraph from it. The Millburn Short Hills Chamber of Commerce firmly believes that supporting Paper Mill Playhouse's bond ordinance request is a strategic investment in the future of our community, as well as major upgrades to the township's own asset. The success of this project will enhance the township's cultural landscape, attract visitors, and contribute to the overall economic well-being of Millburn. Again, thank you for your support, and we are here to answer any other questions that may come up regarding our project.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa Cooney, and I am Director of Education Outreach and Access at Paper Mill Playhouse for the last 26 years. And while I'm not a resident, I've spent a good chunk of my days here in Millburn. And I'm here to speak on behalf of Paper Mill Playhouse. Arts education is not the icing in a student's education. It is in fact the baking soda. The impact of arts and youth are undeniable. Arts education in early childhood is linked to an increase in social and emotional development. Teens involved in cultivated arts experiences have reduced anxiety. Many children enjoy performing simply for the fun of spending time with their friends, but the exposure to music and theater at Paper Mill have impacts that last longer than a show. The skills that children acquire from performing in a Paper Mill production or in our classes will guide and shape their lives. Introducing the performing arts to children gives them the occasion to develop priceless life skills. It teaches collaboration, cooperation, compromise, patience, troubleshooting, problem solving. It nurtures their abilities to express themselves, to feel confident, to excel in school, and to exude empathy, which will bring them immense personal satisfaction in life. Learning music, dance, and drama has wide-reaching benefits for children, providing them with the tools to think creatively, be innovative, and appreciate diverse cultures and backgrounds. It assists them to explore their emotions, expand their imagination, and develop their own unique voice. Theater is the practice of telling a story using one's body and voice. There are a few better ways to encourage empathy for the human condition than a live theater performance. When attending, students also exercise listening skills, paying attention, and having respect for artists. While watching live theater, a child may see themselves in the fabric of the character or relate to the experience of the character. They begin to understand empathy. That journey for many students begins here in Millburn. Each year, approximately 30% of our students come from Millburn Short Hills. Paper Mill engages with the Millburn schools in a variety of ways. And in addition to being the largest foundational group of our after-school programs and summer camps, Millburn students attend performances at Paper Mill with both their families and their school communities. Most recently in January, when the entire middle school attended a specially added weekday matinee of Fiddler on the Roof. Over the years, we've collaborated to host the annual Fine Arts exhibit. We attend the annual Millburn Film Festival and provide free workshops with Broadway artists to the middle school, and made our Main Street Dance Studio free for the high school's K-pop dance club to prep for their performances. And each year we book events with the Education Foundation, like Oktoberfest, Snowflake Parade, and the Founders Day festivities. We're clearly at an advantage by having Paper Mill in our neighborhood, knowing that around the corner, kids can receive the most advanced arts training that there is in the country, and knowing that we are elevating our students by giving them a hometown and a theater to be proud of. And I thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Sogato Acharji. I'm a resident of Short Hills for a couple of years now. So I'm here to speak about the nomination of Mr. Venkatesh Chatlavara to the HPC. I speak here today with unwavering support for his nomination, having closely observed Venkatesh's dedication and remarkable qualities. I'm confident that he is the ideal candidate to contribute significantly to the preservation and enhancement of our town's heritage. Here are a few reasons why Venkatesh deserves your support. Technical expertise. Venkatesh brings a wealth of technical knowledge and engineering acumen to the table. His background in engineering will undoubtedly enrich the HPC's deliberations, ensuring informed decisions that align with our town's historical significance. Entrepreneurial spirit. As an entrepreneur, Venkatesh possesses a rare blend of creativity, adaptability, and strategic thinking. His entrepreneurial mindset will invigorate the committee's approach, fostering innovative solutions for preserving our architectural legacy. Exceptional communication skills. Venkatesh's ability to articulate complex ideas with clarity and precision is commendable. Effective communication is vital for successful collaboration within the committee, and Venkatesh excels in this regard. Unwavering work ethic. Venkatesh is not just diligent, he is relentless in his pursuit of excellence. His commitment to hard work and integrity is evident in every endeavor he undertakes. His passion for historic preservation. Venkatesh's love for the historic structures is palpable. His own Tudor-style home stands as a testament to his dedication to preserving architectural heritage. His passion will inspire other members and elevate the HPC's mission. In summary, Venkatesh embodies the qualities of an outstanding HPC member: expertise, vision, and unwavering commitment. I respectfully urge you to support his nomination, recognizing the immense value he will bring to the committee. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jerry Kung, Short Hills resident. I didn't intend to speak tonight, but Mr. Redler had to finish his statement and I was curious as to what he had to say. So I'm lending my 3 minutes to him. I don't necessarily endorse these points of view, but I think that we pay too much in taxes to be cut off at 3 minutes. So here goes. 8 years ago, Rocktoberfest was created. Lots of the same people in this room opposed it. Too much noise, the element that it will attract. Too much traffic, not fair to other festivals. Fast forward, last year it had 5,000 plus attendees and the event grossed almost $200,000 and donated over $400,000 for unfunded school programs and upgrades. Millburn schools became a better place to learn and grow, and Millburn grew closer through live music and community. And we have a chance to keep building community through live music and activities all summer long on Main Street. In 2020, closing Main Street for COVID saved many businesses, livelihood saved. It created the pedestrian mall, which became the energy of the town. A street for everyone to see each other, eat, hang, listen to music, have fun. It drew thousands to our town to help all businesses thrive. I believe the average spend is $85 per visitor, but I'm not here to provide exact numbers. Well, Scott's not here to provide exact numbers. Most understand that June is too early, too much traffic, schools are still in session, the town is still congested. So the proposal is for July 3rd through Labor Day. 550 plus people signed a petition to close the streets. Most of these individuals don't sit on Facebook and complain. They go out, they have fun, coach sports, volunteer to help make this town a great place to live. Unfortunately, every situation is not perfect, but overall closing the street is in the best interest of the masses of Millburn. It helps businesses thrive and creates the atmosphere many moved here for. Please take the bold step to consider closing the street versus listening to the small group that has had the loudest voice and opposed some of the best changes for our town, our residents that make up our community. So that's the end of the statement. And again, I was just reading that on behalf of Scott, so have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are you? My name is Chris Okori. I am not a resident of Millburn. However, I am the general manager of the Hilton Short Hills. And I am here just to add my support to the upgrade project of the Paper Mill Playhouse. Hilton Short Hills does benefit greatly from the theater being cutting edge, new, updated, so on and so forth. We do see folks come in for our shows that stay in our hotel, dine in our restaurants, socialize in our lounge. Continuing to have that revenue stream for us is critical to the support of our hotel, both short term and in the long term as well. I truly believe having the Paper Mill Playhouse renovated, cutting edge, will not only benefit our hotel, but also our community as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, committee members. My name is Steve Grillo. I'm the Executive Director of Explore Millburn, the Special Improvement District. And I am not here to talk about Main Street. I'm here to talk about another resolution issue. So as Executive Director of the Improvement District, I would encourage the committee to support Resolution 24114 regarding the Revolution New Jersey program. The program will commemorate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the nation and the significant role that New Jersey played in that process. Over the past 6 months, I've attended multiple workshops hosted by Downtown New Jersey, the League of Municipalities, and Essex County Arts on how small communities like ours can leverage major upcoming events, including networking with the team from Revolution New Jersey. In July 2026, not only will we celebrate the 250th signing of the Declaration of Independence, but New Jersey will also host the World Cup final at MetLife Stadium, just a few miles from here. So both Revolution New Jersey and the World Cup are excellent opportunities to use major events for economic development in our community and to secure financial support for the SID through various grant programs. In addition to the contacts that we've made with the Revolution New Jersey team, my office plans to apply to the New Jersey Division of Travel and Tourism's Cooperative Marketing Program, which will help fund and organize local events associated with both the Revolution and the World Cup. And we also recently applied to the New Jersey Main Street program. And if we're accepted, we hope to leverage resources of that program to support that work as well. And finally, given our existing work and relationships, I'd like to offer the services of Explore Millburn, myself and Amanda and our board members to the committee that will be established to support the Revolution NJ effort. Thank you.
Good evening. I guess I'm part of the noisy group. My name is Dr. Sabino Torre. I've been a resident living in the Deerfield section of Short Hills for 25 years. I've worked in the cardiac cath lab at what's now Cooperman Barnabas Medical Center. This entire time, I'm on call for cardiac emergencies such as myocardial infarctions or heart attacks and sudden cardiac death or cardiac arrest, 1 week per month, so 13 weeks a year for now 25 years. I'm here tonight to voice my expert medical opinion that closing Main Street in Millburn to vehicular traffic places residents who may suffer one of these catastrophic events at increased risk of a poor outcome. Let me explain. When someone suffers a heart attack or cardiac arrest, emergency services pick up the patient, stabilize them in the field, and then transfer the patient to the hospital emergency room as quickly as possible using flashing lights and sirens. The emergency room staff then summon a specialized cardiac team. For cardiac, it's a yellow team, composed of a physician, 3 specially trained nurses, and an X-ray technician to transport and render care to the patient in the cardiac cath lab. During the peak hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., these specialized team members are likely already in the hospital. During off-peak hours, such as the evening, 7 p. to 7 a, or on weekends, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays is 3 this summer. These team members are not in the hospital and must make their way as quickly as possible without the benefit of flashing lights or sirens. These events are very time sensitive and unnecessary delay can lead to a poor outcome. For example, during heart attacks, we can minimize the damage done to the heart by opening the blocked vessel as quickly as possible. If a patient suffers a cardiac arrest, every minute delay in restoring a stable rhythm translates to a 10% reduction in survival. So in 10 minutes, you may suffer a fatality or restoration of normal brain function. Thus, any delay is critical. Incidentally, it's the same pathway for strokes. It involves a different team of specially trained doctors and nurses. That's the blue team. Many of the hospital staff, including members of these specialized cardiac cath lab teams, live southeast and west of the township. During the last few years, when we closed Main Street to vehicular traffic, this led to significant delays traversing Millburn on the way to St. Barnabas. The hospital staff is a group to query and not CBMC administration, not people who work across the street and do not take call and don't respond to emergency calls. I can personally testify that Main Street road closure delays caused delays in rendering emergency cardiac care. One instance involving a heart attack patient writhing in pain, waiting for the last member of the team to arrive. In a second instance, procedure was delayed, waiting for the physician to arrive. There are other examples that time does not permit. The root cause of all these delays in Main Street was closure of Main Street and impending direct access to CBMC. Okay, so you want me to wait till the end and come back? Okay, yeah, I got about another 10 seconds.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Chara Goyal, Short Hills resident. Well, I'm here to talk about Main Street, and I respectfully urge, to approve the Main Street pedestrian mall. I've seen it as a resident that it goes beyond enhancing our community. It unites people, revitalizes the very core of our city, and transforms it into a vibrant, welcoming hub. I feel Main Street isn't just a route, but it's a gathering place where individuals and all of us gather together to shop, dine, explore, connect, and where children, revel in music. I have two children who had been enjoying the live music and playing without any fear of traffic. So over 500 voices have also voiced their opinions to approve the Main Street pedestrian mall. And I won't take much time, but I'm just here to respectfully urge to approve this mall. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackie Benjamin Lieberberg, and I have held several positions in the town, including serving as mayor during COVID. I'm a multi-year board member of Explore Millburn Short Hills. I currently serve as the chair. However, this evening, I'm speaking to you as an engaged resident who cares deeply about our community. My words this evening are entirely my own, and I do not speak for the Explore board. In a recent petition, over 546 individuals, yes, 546, signed their names to keep the Main Street pedestrian mall going for another year. More than half of those residents are Milburn Short Hills residents, twice the number of signatures from the opposing petition. When asked, the words that come to mind are community, engagement, delightful, enjoyable, the best thing the town does, to name a few. The petition and the survey conducted last year by Explore overwhelmingly reflected a desire to maintain this vital addition to our community. While public safety is always a concern, it needs to be balanced with the overall good that the pedestrian mall brings to Milburn. Data sourced by the Special Improvement District showed that 52,000 people used the mall in 2023. In July and August, the mall hosted 30 live events. When users were surveyed, it determined that 70% of those visited were from other towns and spent an average of $88 per visit. Additionally, Summit has decided to not close their streets, and that's a huge advantage for Milburn businesses. Think of all the people who could come and enjoy our outdoor experience. I believe Milburn has an incredible opportunity to capture that audience, literally and figuratively. We must remain a regional leader for outdoor entertainment and dining in Essex and Union County. As former Main Street Director Jeff Bueller said at a recent forum hosted by Explore, downtowns offer equity, access, engagement, and social and economic value to communities as a whole. I am confident that Explore Milburn Short Hills is committed to achieving all these things and so much more. Furthermore, I encourage the Township Committee not to abandon the Main Street closure. Use the summer of 2024 to perform the traffic studies, the emergency services analysis as previously discussed. Quantify the data, keep the closure. Thank you.
Good evening, Richard Wasserman, and like Mayor Jackie, I'm also just speaking as a resident tonight, although I'm also a board member of Explore, proud board member of Explore, former deputy mayor, very involved in the town in different capacities. This evening, I stand in support of the Main Street closure as a resident, and along with my good friend Mayor Jackie, and along with over 545 residents and friends who've signed the petition. First, I want you to know how much my family and I've enjoyed the Main Street summer closure. We've met friends, we've had amazing meals there. We've also listened to some great local bands from many of our residents. And for the township, I believe having an open space for people to gather without cars is invaluable. Certainly during the past 4 summers, we've had thousands of visitors and a huge infusion of dollars to our local economy. We have turned into the unofficial go-to place for our citizens as well as residents from other towns. But as one of the original sponsors of the Main Street closure, I do want to share with you my insight as to why I believe the Main Street closure is a safe venue for us to have. From the beginning in 2020, we worked very closely with our first responders in case there was ever an emergency. And I was always assured, as I am now, that our first responders plan accordingly when Main Street is closed. I do want to remind everyone that as a township, we have always had summer fairs. We've always closed streets for parades, and that has been a long tradition in Milburn. I remember all of those old cars that used to be displayed on Milburn Avenue. That kind of shows how many years I've been here. But as you know, our fire, police, first aid squad have always had a plan when these closings occur. Now, I do understand there was an incident where a member of the community was rushed to the hospital, and there was a concern that there was a delay in getting him there. I would ask the mayor to ask Mr. McDonald to review the exact timing of the incident and whether this person was actually delayed, because I understand Mr. McDonald, after this has happened, has the facts in terms of the timing. Did he get to the hospital in a timely manner? can Mr. McDonald advise the public as to what the facts were? Because that seems to be a point of contention in the discussion here. I hope the Township Committee goes by the facts and not the fears. The closure has been such a positive force for our community. I strongly recommend that we keep it, and it will be a wonderful summer. And if we do want to change it, okay, all right, that's all right. Thank you so much.
We have 3 online.
I think we're going to the virtual. Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Hi,
Oh, I'm on.
you're on.
Hi, I'm Jim Fines. I'm a 31-year resident of the town, and I'm just would like to add my voice to most recently Mayor Lieberberg and Deputy Mayor Wasserman speak in support of the closure of Main Street for the summer. As purely a resident and not a former committee member, I'll just say it's fun. I live in the South Mountain neighborhood, walk up during lunch a lot, driving back from going out somewhere, stopping in and watching the bands. It's a lot of fun. It's always crowded. There's always people around. There's advertising signs up. I first learned about Joey's Tap and Grill from a sign posted, a sandwich board sign posted during one of those events. And I think Mayor Lieberberg said this, it adds to the town's cachet. It becomes something that people know about and they seek out. People can talk more eloquently than I about how much it benefits local businesses. And as Mr. Wasserman said, you could ask PSC&G, but streets do get closed in town and we do work around them. We have parades, we have street fairs, we have Oktoberfest. And I am confident that our EMTs and our fire department and our police can work around those issues as they do all the time in our town and in other towns. And so again, I urge the town committee to continue the Main Street closure. It's a good thing for the town, and I hope we do continue it. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Christine Best. I'm a Milburn Township resident, and I'm going to apologize in advance. I didn't know about all the stuff with the HPC committee. I wasn't planning on getting online. So if my dog barks in the background, please accept my apologies and I will exit onto the deck. So I'm going to just throw some ideas out here quickly in regards to HPC. I am a big supporter of Allison Canfield. I think she's an incredibly talented woman, especially also on the planning board. And I support her goals. And I also want to echo every single thing that, excuse me, Whiskey, every single thing that Frank Saccomonte said this evening. I am 100% aligned with that and the mission of the HPC, okay? So I also wanted to point out that I'm going to go outside. I apologize. And if you have to cut me off, I'm sorry, it's embarrassing, but I was not planning on coming here tonight. So I just locked my dog outside. He's still a puppy. So I do want to point out that I applied many, many months ago to be on the board of the HPC because I have not only a strong interest, but I have a strong background as a qualified applicant to this board. And I do want to point out, one of my concerns is I asked to submit my resume and no one wanted to see my resume. No one wanted to see that I went to one of the top design schools in the world. I'm a RISD graduate. I've been an apparel designer. I've designed home products for some of the top companies. I've also led startups from a complete 360-degree circle, including finance and all business planning, as well as manufacturing in the Far East. I'm extremely knowledgeable. I've left teams of engineers, teams of architects, designers. And what concerns me is Venkatesh is his skills, okay, are agile methodologies, Java, SOA, web services, XML, enterprise architecture in the fintech industry, and a cash app startup. And I'm trying to understand how, if somebody has relevant skills in art and architecture history and design, the value add to me from a skill set like I have would be a lot greater than selecting somebody who has basically a fintech background, which is amazing. He's done amazing things. I think that's a conflict right there in itself, and it would not behoove Milburn Short Hills in terms of, you know, adding value in terms of responsible and beautiful development. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I do have a passion for design, history, architecture, material selection, and I have the time commitment available, land design and environmental and heritage preservation. And one of the most key things is look at all the towns around us. Look at Summit, look at Montclair, look at Madison, look at Chatham, and look at Maplewood and South Orange, and look at us. We're starting to decline, and people don't see that. And you need somebody who's skilled in design
Thank
to
you.
see that. Thank you. I hope you consider me, Annette. It's important to me. Thank you so much. I hope. Bye-bye.
Sure, come on up.
My name's Al Carlin. I'm a 30-year resident. And question is, how much is a life worth? The pedestrian wall is a fabulous thing, brings in a lot of business, brings in a lot of people, but someone could die. Will they die? Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. And I love the pedestrian wall. I don't like the traffic, but someone could die. And asking the police department, the fire department, the people around here, those are not the people to ask. They are not the folks. And you have to know what the right questions are. Exactly. And what happens if there is a disaster? What happened in Baltimore? You saw, did anyone expect that to happen? How do you recover from something that you don't expect? What do? Okay, there's a flood. It's raining right now. It's raining tomorrow. What happens if it continues raining all week and we get flooded and certain things happen? Well, how do we prepare for that? And two people have a heart attack and we can't get by. And a lot of different things can happen. It's called disaster recovery. How many different people have to get involved? We're stretched to the limit in certain ways. That's all I'm thinking about. I dealt with disaster recovery. This is what we have to think about. I love the pedestrian wall. I think it's a great idea, but we have to think about what happens if certain things happen, what are the alternatives? There are heart attacks, and many of the people that go to now Cooper, maybe you give $100 million, you get a hospital too, or whatever. The thing is this. It's not only the Milburn residents, it is Springfield, it is from all over. Do you see how many different vehicles from all over go through Milburn on their way to Cooper and Barnabas? From all over, from Livingston, not from Livingston, from Union, from South. They have to come through Milburn. And if they can't go in a straight line, they have to go around. I love the pedestrian wall, but think before you do things. Close it on a weekend. Be able to say, hey, how quickly can I open it up in case of? Come up with the alternatives. This was my business for a long time. I was pretty good at it. Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joanna Parker Lentz. I live in Short Hills, been a resident here for 26 years. And I'm reading a statement from my dear friend McColl's son, McColl Richter, who assisted me in a lot of catastrophic disaster relief post-Hurricane Ida. I never signed up to be a disaster relief manager, but that's certainly what I was for those couple of weeks in between running Rocktoberfest and preparing for helping people get their lives back in order after major catastrophic flooding in our downtown. Nobody loves Milburn more than I do. Well, actually, a lot of people love Milburn as much as I do, so I take that back. McCall Richter and her family are certainly no strangers to disaster. Her husband suffered a rather catastrophic stroke, and he has certainly found himself in several emergency vehicles. His son wrote this statement. Ethan Richter is in college. He would love to have been here in person. He was here last week. He was hoping we'd have this session last week, but not so much. So this is a statement from Ethan Richter. My name is Ethan Richter, and I'm a graduate of Milburn High School, and I'm currently studying environmental engineering at CU Boulder. I wanted to say a few words about downtown Milburn. I believe that it would be a massive mistake to close down the pedestrian area in downtown Milburn. Downtown should be a place to drive to, not drive through. Almost all economic studies show that closing a commercial area from cars and opening it to people allows local businesses to generate more money than they would have otherwise. Many cities today are trying to permanently pedestrianize their downtown due to the economic, environmental, and social benefits. Pedestrianized areas also give children, the elderly, and people with disabilities more space to roam around, making downtown more pleasant for everyone. So this is sort of the Richter family vote for the downtown closure. Like I said, they are no strangers to ambulances. And having grown up in New York City myself, my father had a massive heart attack when I was 21 years old and I was uptown at Barnard. Believe me, it was certainly not easy to get to hospitals, but people found a route. No one wants to put public safety, ahead of, or rather, they don't want to put fun ahead of public safety, but I think there's a way to manage everything. We don't have to think in a catastrophic fashion on a daily basis or for the summer. Thank you.
Thank you. One more. Go ahead, sorry.
Good evening. First, Dave Boyko, 21-year resident of Milburn Short Hills. Thank you for taking the time to govern this town of many complainers, it seems. Not an easy or joyful task. I just want to speak in behalf of supporting the Main Street closure. I'll speak extemporaneously without notes. Apropos of one of our earlier speakers, it seems there's quite a little minority of very vocal people opposed to this. Quite a minority of very vocal people opposed to the Trader Joe's when it opened, doing the turf fields. Every little thing in this town I've seen over the last 20 years has been a small vocal minority who wants to keep things the way they were, however run down that might have been. I'm kind of tired of that. The Main Street closure brings people downtown. It brings life downtown. It brings engagement. It brings community. It brings fun to this town, to the people who live here and to people who come from other towns to enjoy a nice night out in the summer, get some music, get some food. It's good for all around. Certainly disasters may happen, but that doesn't stop roads from being closed for construction. It doesn't stop roads from being closed for parades. It doesn't stop roads from being closed for craft fairs and other events. I might get struck by a meteor when I walk out of this building, but I'm betting that's not going to happen. So I, again, offer my support in favor of Main Street closure. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been coaxed to come up here and talk. This is Charlie Bambara. I'm a resident of Short Hills for 27 years. There's some middle ground between closure and non-closure. Simply keep one lane, northbound lane, available for emergency vehicles and have an electronic gate at both ends. Have it hooked to the signal lights so that when an emergency vehicle needs to get through, he's got a green light on Essex Street and a green light on Main Street. The signal gates go up, lights flash, and a siren sounds, and pedestrians clear the path. That's easy. This isn't rocket science, but I'm seeing black and white, and there's middle ground that addresses both and is the solution. So that's what I have. This is my little sketch.
Thank you.
You got your brain. Look, there's legitimate points from both sides, and I'm an engineer. I come up with solutions, so that's my offer.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're just going to go to the people at home real quick. Good evening. Good evening. Can you put your camera on, please? There you are.
Oh, hello.
Good
Hi,
evening.
my name is Ron Papka. I've lived in Short Hills since the year 2000, so about 24 years, and I'm a Wall Street vet, and I'm also an adjunct professor at Columbia University. And I'm very impressed with the dialogue that I've heard today, and I'm here talking in support of making sure that you keep music going on in Millburn. I mean, one of the most beautiful things about this town is we heard about the Paper Mill Playhouse. Our kids become actors on Broadway, and the music that's going on in this town, you know, Joanna, Scott, Jackie spoke about it. Charlie gave you a solution for our problem that we have with traffic. But guys, come on. If you have a problem where you have a single point of failure for our EMT that's like 200 yards of asphalt, you got to solve that problem, Township Committee. And Township Committee, you can't use the coincidentals of what's happened, these unfortunate incidents that happened with people who suffer from heart attacks. You can't. You have to figure out how to solve the EMT problem, and you need to make sure you can close Main Street for music, because closing Main Street for music and closing the parks for music are two different things. When people dance in the streets and people are like really close in that environment, it is a magical experience that only happens in our town. And make sure that you don't vote getting rid of a magical experience. So make sure you are able to close Main Street during the summer and keep the EMT safe and people safe in the town at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yep. Good evening, Jean Pasternak. Sorry, let me put my video on. Jean Pasternak, resident of 26 years. I want to say that I concur with Mr. Sakamandi's remarks regarding the Historic Preservation Committee. This is such a critical committee as our land use boards are in providing technical advice and ensuring adherence to the township's master plan for this township committee. Anyone who is sitting on these boards as appointees who are angry, lack knowledge specific to the board's mission, lack the time and interest to do the job, or political appointees meant to lend credibility to thin resumes before launching campaigns for township committee should not be on the committee. They should never have been appointed in the first place. The voters of Millburn spoke pretty loudly last November, with 65% voting for Ben and Frank. Their platform was explicit and specific. They said they wanted full transparency and accountability restored to the township committee. And that included their commitment to having the most qualified people to serve on our committees and boards. You heard tonight the contrast between the background of someone like Christine Best or Mike Moran and the person that you have on the agenda this evening. There's nothing personal. This is nothing to do with people and their personal issues with them. This has to do with qualifications and what makes sense to get the job best done for this town. And I don't think, from what I understand, that Mike or Christine, from their remarks, were contacted or interviewed by Mayor Romano in spite of their applications being put in, at least in Christine's case, back in January. I really feel that there's something not quite right here. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right to me. I've personally spoken to Venkatesh, very nice fellow, very intelligent, but he made it clear that his position was not in favor of historic preservation for his neighborhood, which is fair enough. He had legitimate concerns, but he definitely did not demonstrate to me through that conversation that he was someone who was committed to the art and science of historic preservation. I would also say that I saw him at a gathering for Ben and Frank while they were running their campaign, and he was very combative in that setting, and it was really disconcerting. So I'm not so sure, this is the right choice for our township. And as far as the Main Street closure, I made this remark last time. We definitely need to compromise. You hear the passion on both sides. There's no reason we can't find a solution that keeps everybody a little unhappy. I think there are risks. We don't want to make a decision like we did with fair share housing and cast those risks aside and ignore them. We need to include them. And I think Frank made a very good suggestion to study this summer all impacts of critical closure, like the artery of Main Street in our downtown. What impacts are they? How are they going to affect us? And then make a decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Can you turn your camera on, please? Hello?
Hello.
Can you turn your camera on, please?
I don't think I can get it.
You had it. You had it.
Okay.
There you are.
Is that it?
Yep.
Hi. My name is Denise. I live in the Deerfield section of Short Hills, and we have been residents of Short Hills for 30-something years. We do love Milburn, and we do love Short Hills, and we also love the energy that it gives. Our town is presently changing. We have more rentals coming up than ever before. I was in the township office the other day paying my sewer taxes, and 4 people behind me were showing their leases to start getting parking permits. I think at this time, when our area is becoming more transient, we really need to think about keeping the town as a town. And one of the ways to do that is to build community. And I do believe that by having these streets closed and having people gather and you visually see each other, you're able to be with each other, you're able to build community. And I think we should try harder now, more than ever, with all the rentals that are going on, to try to keep our community a community. I do believe that EMTs and emergencies do need to have their value. But as the person previously before said, 200 feet of asphalt. I have been working in emergency rooms and hospitals for a very large portion of my life. And never did we say, oh, how did the ambulance get here? They know how to do it. They know where to go. And they build a commute by what's in front of them. New York City does it. Maplewood does it. All the areas do it. So I think we could build a great compromise, but we must remember to build our community and keep our restaurants and vitality going of our area. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No one else?
Okay. Anyone else from the audience that has not spoken? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Malios. I bought my first house in Milburn Short Hills in 1988, so I've been here a long time. I want to thank all of you for serving on the board. It's a hard job and it takes a lot of time. And I really appreciate your civic mindedness of participating. It's more than I could do, so I'm grateful that you're doing it. I'm in support of the road closure on Main Street because it's not going to be when school buses are turning. It's not going to be during the week when people are working. From what I understand, it's just going to be on the weekend in the summer when half the town is not even here. So it does pull in a lot of other people from other areas. It's something that differentiates Milburn and makes it a little bit special. And Cooperman Barnabas is not the only hospital in the area. Frankly, Overlook is closer. So there are other ways to get health needs met in an emergency. And I think it's something that makes the town special, and I hope that you support it. Thanks.
Thank you. One more online. Good evening.
I am on Old Short Hills Road, so I might get disconnected. This is Sucharita, and I'm here. I'm here in support of Venkatesh. Venkatesh was part of the Very Good Nottingham 153 homes that got slapped with historic designation. And one of the reasons he might have been combative is because it was given to us in such a sudden manner without consultation. I think having someone from this group is going to be valuable for the committee, and will share, and he'll be able to share the perspective that all of us experienced. But all of us are also new, many new homeowners in the area, and we are all participating in our community as parents, as PTO members, as rec coaches, and Venkatesh will be one of those members who will be able to add value to the committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? If you've already, it's only if you haven't spoken, please. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Ryan Mason. I'm a resident. I work for the paper mill. But first and foremost, I'm a resident. I care deeply about our township and where it's going. I want to make sure that we thrive. My children have done exactly that. They've gone through the school system. That's why we moved here. But I've also, in that unique position, working at the paper mill, I'm seeing the connection with the community and even people from all sorts of locations throughout the United States, a lot of which are from New Jersey. I see the connection, the arts. I see the twinkle in their eye. I see how it resonates with them. I've seen that with my children, with the educational program, with the paper mill. I support it because I think we need to instill all these virtues, especially with the arts, but I want to make sure that the township continues to thrive and continue to be a destination. We're competing with a lot of local towns, and we need to be aware of that. And that's pretty much it. We need to continue to be on that radar and be a destination. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else that has not spoken that wishes to speak? Come on.
Good evening, everyone. So just so you guys all know, my name is the one that's been spoken the most today. So kind of feeling the heat here, so pardon me about that. So let me tell you something very important. The most difficult thing about me is my last name, right? Very hard to pronounce. I'll make it very easy for you. Every A in my last name is a syllable. So if you pronounce every A one by one, you'll get my last name right. So that's the only thing difficult about me. Anyway, so a lot of things has been told about my experience, my intent, and whatnot. I just want to quickly say something. Everything that people told me about me meeting Ben and Frank in I guess in an election campaign was all correct. And I want to remind everybody who is here, there were two people running in the past election. One was a very good friend of my friend, who I know very personally, and who ran against Ben and Frank. And I was in that room debating with Ben and Frank. I came out of the room and I voted for Ben and Frank. I'm a very open-minded person. I listen to both the sides. I decide what is right for the town and for my family and for all of us. That's how I operate. And a lot of things has been told about my skills and capability. Let me tell you something. I've been typecast as, I guess, some technology terms were used here. But guys, I did 12 plus 4 plus 2-year degree. 2 years of my degree was done in NJIT. I did master's in computer science. Prior to that, I did engineering in India. Engineering means you got to go through civil engineering, fluid engineering, mechanical engineering, thermal engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering. A building is not just about architecture and design. A building is about engineering. And more importantly, a building determines the economics and the well-being of the town. Historic Preservation Committee is in the forefront, not just of preserving the characteristics of the town, but also the economics of the town. I honestly feel that, all right, let me wrap this up by saying this. One thing I'm very happy about me being here, the last time when I spoke about people applying to HPC, I was the only one who was voicing the concern that my application was not received. And seeing so many people being interested to apply for HPC, I think I made a change, whether I'm selected today or not, and I'm happy to bring the change that I did today. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for your service. My name's Elsa Thomas. I'm a resident of the Poet section. We moved here in 2017. I have 4 children. I'm here as a resident and a member of the Paper Mill Board. I just wanted to encourage everyone to just be aware of the gem that we have in our backyard. The art is so important to every career that you go into, whether when I was a kid and doing theater and had, maybe difficulty speaking or some fear of speaking, it gave me a little bit of confidence. My 4 kids have all gone through Paper Mill, various classes. They've been on stage. They've had access to some of the best teachers. And I just want everyone to know that this true gem in our yard should not be overlooked. We need to continue to build what is here, cultivate that, create more opportunities, not only for our own children, but other kids to come in from other towns by continuing to build the theater. This past January, someone mentioned this, there was a little bit of discussion between kids in the middle school, high school, with the tumultuous issues maybe between religions. And the school realized we have an opportunity, we have the ability to show our kids that we're all, united, we should all be one. And we created there was a funding that was allowed the kids and a huge grant from the theater itself to essentially do a performance of Fiddler on the Roof for our middle school kids. It was a true gift for them, and I think an excellent opportunity. But remember, this is a theater that's here for our community and will continue to increase the value of our community, the value of our homes. My husband's a surgeon, and I'll also say, I'm into the township, and we have Overlook Hospital too. Towns, EMTs, police, they know how to drive around traffic. So that's another plug for the township and closing the street when needed. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that has not spoken that would like to speak? Seeing none, I will now close public comment. You can, I'm sorry, you could wait until the next public comment, doctor.
So I came to the very.
Sir,
meeting.
you can't speak.
We have to wait until the next.
At the end.
At the end of the meeting.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry.
At the end of the meeting.
Yes, the end of the.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You could also leave your statement for the record also if you don't want to wait.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, comments from the committee. Let's start with you, Deputy Mayor Sacamendi.
So a lot of you came out to speak in favor of closing the street over the summer. We're gonna have a discussion about this later. Can you hear me? Yeah. I think we need to find a way to compromise here. I think we need to find a way to balance the concerns from the hospital staff. We need to get sign off from police, EMT, and fire. Honestly, I think at this point, what we should probably do is leave the street open this summer and gather data and then use that data to inform our decision in the future. I also think that this is something that should maybe go out to a referendum. I think Summit recently reversed their policy of closing their street. And I don't remember if it was a referendum or not, but there was broad public support to end that closure. And I commend those of you that are in favor of the street closure for getting a lot of people out to speak in favor of it. However, I've spoken to many, many individuals, more numerous than are in this room speaking in favor of it, who are opposed to it for a number of reasons. So I think we have to find a way to compromise. There should be a way for us to draw people to our downtown in the summer and have, you know, the live entertainment and the music, et cetera, without, you know, hindering emergency vehicles and emergency services. Let's see here. I appreciate those that spoke out against this HPC appointment that we have. I think it's important that we as a committee appoint the best and most qualified individuals for these types of positions. And Venkatesh, I appreciate you coming and speaking for yourself. However, statements that you have made tonight and in your volunteer interest form are in direct contradiction with statements that you have made to me and to others in my vicinity. So yeah, take that with what it is. Let's see, I think that's all the comments I have.
Thank you. Committeewoman Prupus?
I do not have any comments.
Committeeman Stoller?
Oh, great. Well, such a civic participation and the positive energy. I'm a forever optimist. So I'm not going to address everyone's concerns. I'll just go, very similar to what Frank did. I think we're going to get into a lot of discussion tonight as well. First discussion on closing Main Street. I actually called the Mayor's Summit and spent an hour on the phone with the Mayor's Summit to understand the issues and the processes they follow to go through whether to close it or not. And actually, there was quite a amount of people who did want it closed. Their issues were a little bit different than ours because they were closing Maple Street in terms of the longevity, how long Maple Street was. And actually, it was a little bit different. I also spent some time with Jamel Boyer, who's the West Ward councilman, and understood what they did. So it's actually not apples to apples, it's really apples to oranges. And they were both hoping to come here at some point during the summer. I cannot say loud enough how much we appreciate a safety issue. I also spent some time with the doctor on the phone today, with Dr. Torrey, and understand his issues. And they're valid issues because it's not so much the EMT vehicles we're talking about here, guys. We're talking about the staffing inside the yellow team and the blue team. And I cannot go into the depths of that knowledge right there. It's beyond me. But the depths of the yellow team and the blue team, they save lives. And the ability for them to get to the hospital to save lives in the afternoon or at nights on the weekends when they are off, they have about 20 minutes to get back to the hospital. So it is a difficult decision, and we may walk outside, we may be hit by a meteor, and we do have to understand the pushes and pulls. I love the pedestrian mall, and I do think we should have a hybrid, and we should look at opportunities and ways to benefit downtown and have both. And I think Charlie had a good idea in terms of having a cross lane, maybe explore that. And I don't think this is an all or nothing proposition, but it's something we can discuss and look at the opportunities to do, to have a hybrid or maybe just close it on Saturday and a Sunday. But I think it's a good discussion to have, and I appreciate everyone's valid input. The other soup du jour today seems to be the Venkatesh appointment. I've spent 3 different conversations with Venkatesh, probably 2 of them over an hour long. And I'm glad you spoke tonight because it gave everyone a flavor of your background. I would be angry too if I was arbitrarily, when my house was put into a historical HPC designation without input from the residents. I understand your frustration. I am so elated by the amount of public outpouring for these positions. Although Christine seems to have the greatest resume ever, sorry, Mike and Ted, the finance backgrounds. But you know, there is another position that's going to become open very soon, maybe two. So there's a lot of opportunities for volunteer work here, or to come and assist on township committees, finance committees. All these committees are open. We're looking for great people. So this is so encouraging to have everyone step forward and willing to participate. It really is.
Committeeman Cohen?
Sure. Well, I'll now give my opinions. As for the closure, I do think we need to reach a compromise. I don't think closing it off and just collecting data is really a compromise. But we have talked about various things, including weekends only, or moving the closure to Town Hall Plaza. And those are things we should be discussing later today. As for HPC, I have to say I do agree with much of what Deputy Mayor Sacamandi said. I don't think it's appropriate to appoint somebody to a committee where they oppose the mission of the committee. And so I look forward to his resolution that will be coming later to table the appointment. To Mr. Feld and the Local Assistance Board, I asked some of those same questions before the meeting. All that is changing is the method of payment to the recipients of local assistance to make it easier for them to have access to the assistance that's provided. So no deep dark conspiracy there. And then I guess I was asked to get the information on 9 Main Street. I got it. I can add this to the list of you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because I provided it. And of course, rather than getting a thank you, I got a snark. But I guess that's to be expected.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald?
I'm just gonna add to Committeeman Cohen's comments about the Local Assistance Board. Millburn is actually one of 3 communities only in the state of New Jersey that still processes checks from a public assistance account to those recipients that are in need of public assistance. The move to Essex County is in the form of payment, so that those residents that are vetted by our current social worker and public assistance individual from Livingston, as well as the Local Assistance Board, and can receive funds in the form of a debit card as opposed to a check. This is a move that Livingston is also making, and again, does not change the process, however, does change the way that those individuals receive public assistance.
Thank you. Mr. Birch, do you have anything to add, or?
No, Mayor, I don't have anything.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to add, I did want to talk about the General Assistance Fund, and thank you for mentioning that. Like Mr. McDonald said, a lot of people don't have bank accounts. So if they're given a check, sometimes they have difficulty cashing that check. So by issuing them a debit card, it makes it easier for them to access those funds, and it also opens them up to other resources that are available in the community. As far as the closure, I also believe it's not an all or nothing discussion. I am concerned with the safety of residents, whether they're town residents or they're out of town residents. Our first responders do have the ability to switch the traffic lights to green. Emergency response vehicles from other towns do not have that. So that is a concern of mine. And like I said earlier to Committeeman Cohen, we've been thinking about this since last summer. So we've never stopped thinking about it, and we've never stopped talking about it. And it's a really hard decision to make. That's why I think we can come up with some type of compromise. And as far as HPC or any other committee, I don't make those decisions at all. I don't make any appointments by myself. What we do is if someone on the committee is interested in appointing someone to a board, we have a discussion about it. We talk to each other about it, we get consensus about it, and we move forward. I don't make any of the decisions by myself. Thank you. The Township Committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments from the Township, from the committee in regard to any items listed on the consent agenda? May I have a motion to approve Resolution 24-107 through Resolution 24-112, which are listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Purvis?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller? Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the committee in regard to Resolution 24-113?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we remove this resolution from the agenda, table it, and come back to the appointment after there's been more time to vet some of the individuals that spoke tonight and expressed interest, and it, showed that they have the technical ability and the passion for sitting on this board. So I make a motion that we table this nomination.
Second.
Roll call vote? Roll call vote, please. Oh, is there any more discussion? I'm sorry. Okay, so
Just from my understanding, this is for an alternate 2 position that is a non-voting position and will only vote if a member of the HPC is not available to vote, and if the first alternate is not there. And presumably the folks on the HPC understand when a vote is coming at a meeting and are usually astute enough to show up for a vote. Is that correct? Very simple question.
Yes.
Presumably, however, we have seen that when there has been appointments to an alternate position, when another vacancy comes up, the alternates tend to get moved up. And we've seen that happen already this year. So
But that is not a
in
rule.
light of
That is
that,
not a rule.
well, it seems to be the practice that our mayor has been following this year. Whether it's a rule or not.
again, I don't make decisions on my own. All right, we all vote equally.
Every single appointment, right?
Okay,
I just want to clarify, is that a rule or is that not a rule?
It's not a rule.
it's not.
Okay, understood. And are there other appointments coming up? My understanding there's 1, maybe 2 other appointments coming up shortly for the HPC.
That's not necessarily
One is
accurate.
absolutely not going to be here. He is going to college and
Okay.
will be resigning this year.
Okay, so
Correct.
there is 1 coming up. Okay,
Correct.
so understood. Okay, second, just understanding the idea of groupthink. And, we always try to avoid in the business world, especially in my companies, we try to avoid groupthink. We really respect the diverse perspectives, the improved decision-making we receive, the innovation and creativity. Right now, in terms of the mission, as you guys keep stating the mission, how does the mission not be affected by groupthink? I want to understand that.
So the mission of the HPC is to nominate historic assets to go up for the TC and the planning board to review. They are not the mechanism by which things get designated.
Understood.
They're the ones that are supposed to do the research. They're the ones that are supposed to identify these things. And if you have individuals on that board that don't believe in that mission, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. For example, it's sort of like appointing an anti-vaxxer to a board that is designed to develop the next vaccine, right? It's a contradiction, and it's a contradiction that I don't seem to be able to get over easily, because the check on the HPC are the 5 of us up here on the TC. It's also the planning board. So there are checks in place.
I sit up here, I've sat up here, I've never consulted about anything that happened at HPC. I would say we're a check, maybe the designations, but the HPC operates and does so much more than just designate.
Correct, and I think what people fail to understand is what happened last year is they went through the statutory process that they had to follow to advance a designation to the Township Committee. The Historic Preservation Commission ultimately decided to table that, and they did not move forward, recommending to the Township Committee to move forward with that.
Good.
So the public outcry, the public response worked. Now, can the HPC improve? Absolutely, and I'll be working with them on improving their education component, et cetera. However, I still believe that it is important to point people to boards that actually believe in the mission of the board. Dissenting opinion is great as long as it can be objective. And I do not feel that this individual is able to be objective based on multiple comments that he has made directly to me and others close to me.
Understood, and going through, I've spent a lot of time with this individual, with Venkatesh, and understanding that, we ran on full transparency, open communication, doing what's right for the town, getting public input. To me, it just seems that working away from groupthink, which seems to be the case when they arbitrarily sent 153 letters out to Millburn Short Hills residents with zero regard for how it would be received in the middle of the night, and not having someone who had the fortitude to push back and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't send these out. Maybe our mission isn't correct. Maybe we should actually take a look at this. And I would have been upset if I had received that letter. Now I do live, and I think I'm the only person on this dais that lives in a historical home. I understand the benefits of living in a historical house. One being is like they can't build affordable housing anywhere near me. That's always a positive in terms of where you live in a historical designated area. However, I just cannot understand why groupthink, why the understanding where this gentleman has put himself forward into this position, and he has a fantastic background, he has an engineering background, he has come forward, he's come to this country, he's built a beautiful, great, unbelievably successful business that's thriving, and he's put his time and effort forward to help this community. And I don't even look at the partisan effort. I look at the individual and the contributions he can make to this. And a few comments that he may have made during a campaign season, I don't think negates anyone. I love
the
I love
comments
Mike.
One at a time, one at a time, please.
Can I just, perhaps a different analogy than the anti-vaxxer is, we wouldn't support putting someone on the environmental commission who believes that climate change is a hoax and is against sustainability, because that is the purpose of the environmental commission.
Exactly.
Furthermore, I also believe that as we've appointed Deputy Mayor Sacamandi to be our representative on this committee, if he is opposed to this appointment, that is something that we should respect, just as for the committees that we were on, if someone was if there was an appointment up that we disagreed with, we would hope that the other members of the committee would support us.
100%, very valid, Mike. However, I would want to have good reasoning versus we want our groupthink and we want to be able to execute with no checks and balances. To me, that's not a good reason. I need one reason that says, hey, this is why we shouldn't embrace the knowledge of this resident who's gone through this process, who can absolutely contribute to the process. And I have yet to receive that reason. And to the anti-vaxxer, I think there's a lot of people in this room and in this country are wishing there wasn't groupthink surrounded by anti-vaxxing. I know some children that wish they were not vaxxed. So let's just put that to bed right now. That's not a good example. And the nonsensical example of a mathematics versus, whatever the nonsensical example given earlier, I didn't even follow it. The example that was given to me over the weekend was having a environmentalist join one of our boards of an oil company. We love having that happen because then we get absolute clarity on the decisions that we're making. That's why I own an oil company, but you have full transparency, and that's what I think we need as a.
Thank you.
There's
Okay, so-
a difference.
Yes, so we have a motion and a second to table resolution 24-113, right?
And there was a second by Michael.
And there was a
and then
second, there's a
roll call
motion to
vote.
table, roll call vote.
Well, there's discussion before the roll call vote. I
Well,
have
no.
something to say.
We
have a discussion.
Excuse me, one second.
So we've had the discussion and everybody's had the opportunity to speak, and once everybody's had the opportunity to speak, the mayor can then invoke if the mayor can either permit anybody additional to speak or call the roll call vote.
So we're gonna have a roll call vote to table the resolution, right? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Prupus?
No.
Deputy Mayor Sacamandi?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Negative.
Mayor Romano?
No. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve resolution 24-113?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
No.
Ms. Purvis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
No.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 24-114? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve resolution 24-114?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Purvis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 24-115? May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-115?
So-
moved.
May I have a second?
Yes.
Roll call vote, please.
Second.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Purvis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 24-116? May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-116?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Purvis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Committeeman Cohen, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2669-24.
I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2669-24, calendar year 2024, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 4040A:4, 45.14. My understanding, and I'll defer to Mr. Larissy, is that this is something that we pass every year so that we end up being allowed to save money that is unused for future years, so that we don't end up having spikes in our taxes.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Purvis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Committeeman Stoller, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2670-24.
Okay.
Just a second, there was a part I was supposed to read. That's
Oh,
why I
I'm
was a little
sorry.
confused.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
I move, we need to do that vote again. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law on the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, May 7th, 2024.
I apologize. May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please. I'm sorry.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. Purvis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy.
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Committeeman Stoller, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2670-24.
I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance 2670-24, an ordinance of the Township of Milburn, County of Essex, authorizing the Township of Milburn to execute a memorandum of understanding with Paper Mill Playhouse for 20 Brookside Drive, Milburn, New Jersey, 07041. This is the memorandum of understanding we've entered into to collect parking revenue as it pertains to the 20 Brookside parking lot that has been acquired by the town, or will be acquired by the town through an ordinance, and has been will be offered to us to help with the negotiation for the next ordinance that will be passed. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with the law in the item for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, May 7th, 2024.
May I have a second?
Second.
I just would like to add a little bit of clarification to this. So the Township Committee is going to vote on this ordinance. However, this ordinance is then contingent upon the purchase of 20 Brookside, and that process will start immediately. Assuming that the other vote goes well tonight, we'll start that process, and then we will finalize this revenue share agreement after the purchase of 20 Brookside.
Thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. Purvis.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy.
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 24-118? Where is this? Yeah. May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-118?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
yes.
Ms. Prupus,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamanni,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano,
Yes. May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-119?
So moved,
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
yes.
Ms. Prupus,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamanni,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano,
Yes. Okay, we did one. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 24-119? We just did that one. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so we are gonna take a quick 5-minute break, please. Thank you. Okay, everybody, we're gonna get started, please. Okay, we're gonna get started. Okay, we have a resolution 24-120. A resolution to approve the 2024 budget, and Mr. McDonald, do you want to introduce, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Township Committee. Tonight is the night for us to introduce the 2024 municipal budget. I have Mr. Laracy, who is the Township's Chief Financial Officer, here to do that presentation. I'll certainly jump in on certain points, but we will try to do this as expeditiously as possible. All right, go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Mayor and Township Committee. We have a presentation we'll put up, and I'll go through it slide by slide. If anybody has questions, feel free to just stop me and ask. We'll get started here. Here we go. All right, so we have some major points here. We're going to go through the budget process, our goals and objectives with our budget. We'll go through the municipal budget, the parking utility budget, operates separately, and our capital plan. It's really a whole year process. So we start, throughout the year, we analyze our financial results. We meet with the finance subcommittee. The business administrator and I meet with all the department heads in the fall, and we start to finalize the budget. We then meet back with the finance committee and go through everything in detail till we get to where we are today. The process from here is today's the introduction. We filed our annual finance statement and our annual debt statement. We passed the cap bank ordinance for introduction, and we'll post everything on the website after today. We have a public information session scheduled for April 25th. That's our meeting to specifically engage the public on any questions they might have on the budget. And then we're scheduled for a public hearing and a formal adoption on May 7th. We have general goals and objectives in this budget. I'm not going to read all this detail here, but really it's to provide essential services to the public, provide for infrastructure improvements, economic development, to promote planning and land use, civic engagement, culture and recreation, emergency response, and to promote fiscal responsibility. Millburn has had a successful budgeting philosophy over the years, and we will do our best to keep that going. And we take a long-term approach to what we're doing on the budget. The town's going to be operating in perpetuity, so we take that approach. We have conservative accounting measures. We don't operate under GAAP accounting. New Jersey has a modified cash basis of accounting, and it's conservative by nature, which helps us. We do have a formal fund balance policy, and we follow the governmental finance officers of America and their best practices, which is a fund balance as high as 25% of the operating budget. And Millburn is a AAA rated community. We do as much as we can pay our capital projects with cash to avoid financing costs. Of course, it can't always be the case, but we allocate a large portion of our budget towards those needs. Too fast there. Not that fast, Tim. Yeah, that's all right. All right, so what we're highlighting here is just the impact of inflation. So obviously it's something that's talked about on a national level, but we feel it here. The lower line is Millburn's budget since 2018 has gone up a cumulative about 5.44%. Inflation since that time has gone up 22.2%. We staved off those increases for a while, but we're feeling the effects of that. Towns across and municipalities across the state are feeling that. Next comparison is our municipal levy increases compared to the Board of Education in that same time period. The Board of Education, if you see the line, has been extremely consistent. They go up about the same percentage each year, which is usually what they're allowable. And you can see ours, the Township Committee made a concerted effort to stay flat during the COVID years as much as we could. And that shows in this graph here. This last graph is just us compared to some of our neighboring communities and similar towns. As you can see, we've been well below since 2018, the local communities. Right now, like I said, everybody's kind of feeling the effects of inflation and other pressures on the budget. We're obviously just a small part of the tax, the total tax picture, the tax bill that everybody's paying. The Board of Education is the largest percent. The library is small. The municipality takes up about 24%, and Essex County takes up about 24%. The average tax bill in 2023 in total was $25,604, and the breakdown is what's shown here. Yeah, go ahead, Tim. So what's driving the 2024 budget? Our largest portion of our budget is salaries, personnel costs, fringe benefits that go along with those salaries. It's about 57% of our budget. General liability insurance across the state is increasing. There's a variety of reasons for that, but we're feeling those effects strongly in this year's budget. We have over $2.1 million in capital investment this year. We hired 2 additional police officers last year. And the cost of goods and services is just increasing drastically, which is part of the inflation discussion. So what this all translates to is our 2024 municipal budget. Our net taxable value, that's the total taxable value of the town that the municipal budget is spread over, is a little over $9.8 billion. It went up a little under 0.5%. Our municipal tax rate proposed is 0.465, which is a 3.15% increase. And the average municipal tax is increasing about $182 to $5,964. So that's the municipal portion of your taxes will increase about $182.
And just to note, that 182 is on the average home value of $1.28 million.
Right. So the average home is $1.28 million. Shown here in this chart, the impact of this budget on your taxes based on your assessed valuation. And all you really need to do to see this is apply the tax rate to your own personal assessed valuation. You can calculate the impact. I'd like to show this graph just breaking down the budget into a monthly bill. We pay a lot of our bills monthly, whether it's Netflix or your cable bill or Disney Plus or whatever you're using. This is our monthly municipal service bill. Okay, the majority of our bill goes to public safety, $203 on the average household. Public Works is about $88. Capital and debt reserves is $60. Garbage and recycling is about $51. Administrative functions is $47. Public library is about $42. General insurance is about $19. Parks and recreation about $17. And other miscellaneous service make up the remaining $12 for a monthly service bill of $539. Our revenues are highlighted here on the left for 2024 versus 2023. And on the right side is our 2023 some highlighted receipts. Construction code, that's building fee, building permits. That's been above budget a bunch of years in a row now. People are doing a lot of work on our homes, and that shows here. Our biggest windfall from 2023 was our return on investments. We made almost $1.3 million in interest on our cash. We can't invest in the stock market, or we have to be very conservative in nature, but we use certificates of deposit. There's some other investment pools available to us. We took advantage of that last year. The other item here, which was mentioned, is the hotel tax from the Short Hills Hilton. We get a portion of a tax based on the receipts. Since COVID, they have been ramping up each year as they become fully operational. So that's a good sign, both for them and for us. And this slide just highlights our expenses, breaking down the salaries and benefits, operating expenses, capital investment, and our statutory reserves. Again, this is just a longer history period of our tax rate, a penny showing the penny increase. You can see, since 2018, we've only gone up about an average of under 1.5% per year, if we even considering this year's 3% increase. Another portion of our budget is our SOAR user charge. We're a member of the joint meeting. Last year, we charged $188 per unit. This year it's $198, $10 increase. It's definitely one of the lowest in the area, if not the lowest. Obviously a lot of this infrastructure is aging. So towns and municipalities are pumping a lot of money into this infrastructure, sewer and water utilities. So right now we feel $198 as a member of the joint meeting is well spent. A separate portion of our budget is the parking utility. So that's theoretically should be funded strictly by user fees. That budget is a little over $1 million this year. We paid off the parking deck debt in full last year. So that frees up a lot of money in this budget. We have to kind of get through this budget and then we can start allocating that money towards other capital needs, other capital improvements in the parking area. The graph just shows the breakdown of our revenue here. Parking permits make up 57% of the revenue and meter collections make up a little under 40%, with the remainder being usually just interest on investments and miscellaneous fees. Our capital plan highlighted here. As it says, we're a AAA rated municipality. As in 2023, we were affirmed a AAA rating. In 2023, we completed a lot of projects, infrastructure improvements, over $2 million in roadway reconstruction. The Bauer Center Assembly Room was totally renovated. It's now a nice new gym. It looks enticing and it's lined for multiple sports, which is great. We had various other improvements, including the pickleball court construction, LED upgrades to Gerald Park, and various equipment purchases. So the capital plan for 2024, we're allocating $2.7 million towards road and drainage improvements this year. The last few years, and Alex can speak to it if he wants to jump in, but we've allocated a lot of money towards this need. Again, it kind of speaks to the aging infrastructure and us wanting to not just put lipstick on problems.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, we continue an aggressive approach to roadway reconstruction, and I say roadway reconstruction because we're addressing, the utilities in the ground, including sewer infrastructure and breaks that may be occurring on certain roadways, curbing, drainage, as well as in full mill and pave of roads, deviating from the path that had been done for years previously of just putting a nice coat on our roadways. We want to make sure that we're building roads that are going to last for 10 to 15 years so that we can, continue to invest in all of our roads and not just hitting some roads like Highland Avenue or Hartshorn, things that are utilized more often. And this has just been an aggressive approach and certainly a commitment by the Township Committee as well as ourselves to approach that issue like that.
Thank you. We have about 1.2 million in recreation improvements this year, including resurfacing of the Township community pool, 660,000 in public works equipment purchases. The main purchase there is a shade tree CV and a sewer flusher. Police and fire upgrades of $380,000. And Milburn has done an excellent job in receiving grants. And this year we have Safe Routes to School, which was awarded years ago, is finally getting going, a little under $600,000. We're applying for an inclusive playground at Taylor Park, which would be a large scale project. And we've gotten a few firefighter assistance grants to the tune of about $70,000.
I'd just like to also add that we are in receipt of some federal funding with regard to the police department that is in the tune of $57,000 as well.
And the capital plan is just, it's included in the back of our budget. It's despite except for what we're funding directly in the capital improvement fund line of our budget, the rest can only be funded through an ordinance. So there's only 3 ways we can spend money as a town. It's through the operating budget, through a capital ordinance, or by a dedication by right of trust fund, which is money set aside for a specific purpose. I'd just like to highlight that because we're including ideas or a capital plan, nothing happens until we come before you for an ordinance. So that's it for now. Again, this is the introduction of the budget. I appreciate everyone's time. I want to thank the Finance Committee specifically for helping us with this. We will have the public presentation on April 25th. And we will be back here for a public hearing and introduction on May 7th. If there's any questions, I'll take them now.
Does any member of the township committee, would any member of the township committee like to comment on the proposed budget?
Comment is, I think Michael and I are in the finance committee and working along Matt, just great job, Matt, with what you do. And I think it's very relevant for everyone in this room to understand those municipal rate increases versus our peers. When you look at that slide, I forget which slide it was, but that is really where the rubber meets the road in all of our tax bills for Milburn Short Hills residents.
Yeah, I'll just echo, thank you for all the hard work that you do pulling this together.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
The public hearing and consideration of adoption of the 2023 budget is scheduled for May 7th, 2024 committee meeting. Oh, look at that. And I said that too. Which begins at 7 o'clock at Milburn Town Hall. Once introduced, the proposed budget will be available in the township clerk's office and will be posted on the township's website. Is there a motion to approve resolution 24-120?
I move that resolution 24-120 be approved and that the township clerk be authorized to have the budget notice published on April 11th, 2024 in accordance with law in the item, and that the public hearing and final passage be scheduled for the May 7th, 2024 township committee meeting.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Krupas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes. Committeeman Stoller, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2663-24.
Thank you. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2663-24. Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the township of Milburn in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $7 million to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. This is the bonds for the Paper Mill Playhouse. The Paper Mill Playhouse has requested a financial investment from the township to assist in updating their facility. Much of Paper Mill's physical facility is functionally obsolete. The oldest part of the building dates back to the 1930s, and the rest of the building was rebuilt after and is fairly antiquated, such as the bathrooms, the exterior pathways, the building systems. It's not ADA code requirement. It is failing retaining walls, black ice sheeting hazards on parking lots, groundwater penetrations in the orchestra pit and boiler room areas, etc. They all pose liability risks both to the paper mill and to our township, and will become only worse over time. For those additional reasons, as such as supporting the performing arts facilities in our township, we are bringing this forward. We have very rigorous negotiation with the paper mill. It's gone through the first reading. We've had numerous public information sessions. I've met with the majority of the local proprietors here in town at the restaurants and spoken to the owners and the managers. They are all, with no doubt, supporting of this measure. Right now, the direct local impact of the paper mill is roughly $3.8 million a year to our local businesses for dining, parking, and patronage. That is significant in that our demographics are changing in town, and the paper mill single-handedly brings seats, puts behinds in seats in our town, and keeps those restaurants alive and thriving. And as much as we appreciate these restaurants, they would not survive here without the Paper Mill Playhouse. So in the spirit of collaboration and good partnership, we set out to find a viable, equitable, and reasonable path forward to economically support the Paper Mill Playhouse without risking or frivolously spending tax dollar monies. We believe we have done that. The best part of our town's contribution on that Paper Mill Playhouse of the $7 million, it will be reducing it by $1.2 million cash reserve on day one. So it will be a $5.8 million bond with annual debt service of approximately $200 million. The township will receive an average lease payment of over 30 years. The lease payments will stay in store. We will get their annual operating income improvements and raises, and we'll also receive $50,000 per year in parking revenues, which was the bond, the MOU we talked about earlier, for 30 years. So we will be able to service that bond. As you know, in town, and as Matt can say, money is somewhat fungible, but the revenues that we're bringing in from the paper mill will more than finance the payment of the bonds. In addition to that, paper mill commitments to the township. They're offering many programs for K through 12 students. They have an adopt a school participation for 30 selected freshmen, a partnership with the middle school, such as the very popular Fiddler on the Roof, masterclass and guest speaking opportunities, access for students to final dress rehearsals, $20 student tickets, and more school-filled trips to elementary and middle school students. The restaurant, upon completion of its renovation project, will offer speaker events, live performances, cabaret offerings, private events, civic events, and meeting spaces. This is an integral part of the operations of the improved facility. There will also be discount tickets for nonprofit organizations, discount tickets for Families First, as well as a student rush and a 30 under 30 program. Based on that, I'd like to declare this hearing open.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld. I guess a proud complainer. Something happened earlier this evening. I don't know if many of you caught what happened. For the last, since public meetings, I was talking about, does the local land and housing buildings law apply? Because we're purchasing property. Tonight, there was an admission that we had to comply like we did at 22 East Willow Court. That raises several questions. What's the urgency tonight if we had to approve two other pieces? One, before we enter into a lease agreement for them, we had to purchase the property. That requires two hearings. Also, there's questions as to the memorandum of understanding that we really did not have an opportunity to speak to. It's 30 years at 50,000. That basically is $1.5 million. Where's the balance of the monies that we're giving to the paper mill? I mean, I'm for the paper mill, but citizens have to get paid back the monies. Where is that revenue coming? We have an existing lease. Are we amending the existing lease that was approved in 2008? Because something happened in 2008 when, how did the monies that were dedicated under that lease payment get put into a reserve that we're giving back to them? Because citizens were told in 2008 that money would go pay the debt service for the acquisition that was done in 2008. Earlier this evening, you approved a resolution about the Revolutionary War. At various meetings prior, I asked Mr. Birch's Jared Cantor two questions. Does this transaction, because the way it's structured, because I don't know, because I'm missing maybe one piece, the piece that's not the cash that you're going to pay, but the 50,000 times 30. Where's the other cash coming back for the balance of the monies? There is something called our state constitution. Our state constitution has two specific articles. Article 8, Section 3, Paragraph 2. Article 8, Section 3, Paragraph 3 of the state constitution prohibits the loan of monies or the grant of monies to a private entity. If you're making a loan, you get paid. But here we're giving, to my view, because I'm a former tax attorney, we're making a gift. And I until someone tells me how that complies with the state constitution, I'm all for the paper mill to do it, but I expect us to get paid back money. We're helping them out. That the money that we're advancing, we get paid back our principal and interest that we had to pay out, because we did not get that before. I know that I'm contrarian, but it needs to be told, because this is the debt that we, the citizens, are paying. There's a state constitution. And sometimes, as we heard before, we think someone has to be a contrarian to help the group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Redler, resident. I'm going to just get right to the point so I don't run out of time. From what I hear, I feel like the town council's made a decision already about the closing of the streets, which I think is unfair. Some of you guys have all been listening to just individuals ranting and complaining.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is
Sorry.
only on this ordinance, on this public hearing on this ordinance.
Oh, for,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm for the Paper Mill Playhouse.
Anyone else for the public hearing for ordinance 2663-24? Okay, one online.
I'm gonna make it short and sweet, just like Scott. Um, I support the Paper Mill Playhouse 1000%. I think it's amazing. I think what they do is incredible. I am very avidly into the arts as a creative person. But I want to make sure that we do things like pave our roads first, because my road hasn't been paved in at least 30 years. So I don't know where Alex is talking about it being 15, but I'm not gonna get into that issue. My issue is think very carefully how you allocate your funds and allocate them to the core basics first. And when you can do that, then you should give money to the paper mill. Thank you.
Thank you. You have to.
Can I speak back to those comments or do you want me to just jump?
Do we?
into it?
Well, yeah, all right, yeah,
Okay,
first you.
Okay, okay, so let me close the public hearing. And I just want to be very transparent
Wait,
on.
we have to, wait, do you have to just read this? Yeah, read the, there's a, read the statement.
Okay, okay, I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. So just for the full transparency, I want to make sure everyone understands. The lease payments were asked to be stopped. Those are not being stopped. Those continue. That's roughly $300,000 per month in perpetuity per year, I'm sorry, for the remaining of the lease, We would like that. Then we have the parking fees. Those parking fees are not variable. In fact, the $50,000 is above what they will actually be collecting off of that 20 Brookside property. The direct economic impact of the $3.8 million is roughly $68 per check for the 55,000 visitors or so per year for the performances. You know, on a 30-year basis, that's $114 million of direct economic activity, Mr. Feld, in terms of coming into our downtown and benefiting the restaurateurs as really underpinning the economic activity in our town. Very, very important to understand. And in addition to that, we're also going to receive the $36 million of capital improvements, which will be completed at the time of the renovation, directly to our balance sheet. It will go directly to our balance sheet as free and clear assets for the town. In addition to the 20 Brookside property, which was just purchased for $1.8 million by the paper mill. Today it's on the paper mill's balance sheet and it will be coming to our balance sheet. For that $7 million, we are getting all of those benefits. 9 plus 1.5, 114, 36, 1.8. It's a lot of benefit coming to our town. So please, I'm not going to equivocate here. I'm not going to cogitate. It's a lot of benefit for our town residents over a long period of time. I want to reiterate that.
Thank you.
So I have something to say. So I've looked at this this ordinance since the first read. The more I think about it and the more I hear from the public about it, the more I tend to agree with Mr. Feld that this seems a bit like a giveaway. The lease payments that were set up back in 2008 when the town bailed out the paper mill were designed so that the money that was spent bailing them out would be paid back over 30 years. By giving the paper mill this investment so that they can put it towards, their grand plans for renovating their facility, sort of, negates those lease payments actually paying back the town for bailing them out. So quite honestly, I just don't think this is a sound deal, given that our town is gonna have a lot of other expenses on other projects. I think that Mr. Stoller sort of gave us a false choice between either funding the paper mill or having them go out of business. They still have many, many years left on their lease. I think if they don't get the township's help, for the additional $7 million that they're looking for, I think they can go and raise those funds on their own. I think that they could also scale back their renovation plans. So I am no longer supportive of this.
Anyone else? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Prupus,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
No.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. Committeewoman Purpose. We want to get finished tonight, but thank you. Committeewoman Purpose, you're scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2664-24.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2664-24, amending the code of the Township of Millburn, chapter 9, building and housing by the creation of section 9-12, entitled lead-based paint hazard and structure requirements for rental dwellings. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with the law.
I declare the hearing open.
I move that the public hearing be closed and ordinance be adopted on final reading, and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as on final reading in accordance with the law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. Prupus.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, Mr. McDonald, the tree preservation plan.
Yes, I just wanted to, this ordinance has been out there for a while. In terms of being looked at by the Township Forester, Department of Public Works, as well as, various other interested stakeholders. We're getting to the time of year where new construction is gonna be happening, additional plantings are gonna be happening. And wanted to make the what I think are necessary changes to this ordinance to improve upon it. The changes stem from increasing definitions within the ordinance to creating a registration for those companies that want to do tree work in the municipality, as well as increasing the fees for replacement trees and various other items about tree protection on construction sites, various standards. This is creating a more sort of robust ordinance in tree preservation. Ours has already been quite stringent and improved, from what the state is even sort of mandating now towards towns. This still goes above and beyond that. And but the biggest point in this and where this all started is two things. One is wanting to give the township forester the ability to not only address on private property dead or dying trees, but also trees that are deemed a hazard. Our forester is a licensed tree expert, an arborist, all of that. And to be able to have the ability to address trees that are hazardous as well as dead or dying is important. In addition, the fee in which people are charged for the removal or for a replacement I believe it was $250 or $200. That doesn't even buy you a tree anymore. So that is increasing to $400 in this revised ordinance. So just wanted to introduce, be able to get any questions from the township committee, provide those back to the forester, and address any of those in an ordinance that would be introduced to
to the township committee at a future meeting.
We have consensus to move forward?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Food establishment reinspection fees.
Yes, another one of those areas where, so when it comes to fees, at times, the municipality and we are actually endeavoring upon, throughout this year, we're gonna be working on a fee ordinance. Right now, most municipalities have a code in their code book that addresses all of the fees. Right now, if you're a resident, you have to go look through the specific code that is applying to your specific situation and try to find the fee for that. We're working on a revamp of that in the code book, but this particular issue relates to food establishments. Right now, if the health department goes out and inspects and they do not pass that food inspection and they come back, there's not an additional fee for that inspection. This would establish that. It is consistent in the memo that was provided to the township committee from Mike Romo, the township's health officer, is consistent with the township of Livingston to make the inspection fee $75 and any reinspection $150.
Great.
Good?
Yes.
Consensus? Good?
Yes.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Closure of Town Hall Plaza and substitute of Main Street. Mr. McDonald, would you like to take this?
Not really, no, I'm totally kidding. No, I think, look, there is for the past 3 years, the township has closed Main Street as a pedestrian mall. I'm just providing a little bit of history. And that was originally done for weekends during April, May, and June, and then for the summer. That has been scaled back to only be July and August for I believe, the last 2 years. I know there's a lot of points being made tonight, as well as, throughout the year and throughout last year when this took place. I think there is a desire from the committee to have a robust discussion on this topic so that at least from our perspective operationally, we know how to proceed forward because I believe whatever we choose to do will require an ordinance that would be put before the township committee for any sort of closure, and then we have the ability to prepare that for the township committee.
Does anyone wanna?
Just so I'm understand, this is the road behind Township Town.
It's right
Town Hall?
beside Town Hall.
Okay,
Correct.
so this is the road right behind Town Hall. So I guess the discussion is, instead of closing Main Street, closing this 24/7 for 60 some odd days and having the programming and the food and such there.
I think if we came to a consensus and that's the way we would go, Steve Grillo would do his planning around that closure versus Main Street.
So this is an addition to Main Street, or
No.
this is
Instead
instead
of-
of Main
instead.
Street?
But not necessarily
Instead.
7 days a week or.
If Steve's here and has a
Yeah.
Steve, do you have a presentation or do you want to speak to it?
No, I can answer any logistical questions you have though.
Oh,
Right, I
okay,
just-
so then the alternative is doing everything that's done on Main Street right now and putting it onto Town Hall Plaza. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Right, so you are correct.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be 7 days, it could be just.
Oh, it could
weekends.
be like whatever.
Could be
Right, but then
weekends,
we
if
run
that's,
into the emergency vehicle situation.
But that would eliminate.
Whether it's,
the-
right, whether it's the weekend or it's Monday through Friday or whatever it is, it's still an
You're
emergency
talking about
vehicle
keeping it
situation.
on Main Street.
No, I'm
not
saying
Hall.
in Town Hall Plaza, but it doesn't necessarily have to be 7 days on Town Hall
Well,
Plaza.
right.
If there's no programming, then we need to look at that, if that makes sense, that's what we would look to Steve to decide, is he programming Monday to Thursday? If he's not programming it, then leave Town Hall
It'll
Plaza
open.
open.
All right,
Got it.
but just for topic of discussion, wouldn't that be somewhat of do we have the understanding whether people would actually visit that? It's kind of a town Siberia in terms of it's away from the downtown area, and where I think the 546 people on the petition said they wanted to close Main Street. So I'm just trying to understand where they, is that a direct comparison or a direct solution for, are we better off closing Main Street for Saturday and Sunday for the weekends versus moving it always over here? Just trying logistically, what is more beneficial for the residents, for the town, for the people who signed the 546 people versus the 180 people, whatever that signed the other petition.
That's,
Steve,
Sure, come on up. You're next contestant.
come on down. Come on down.
So the programming would remain relatively similar, so we would still have music, we would have our open streets program, which is physical fitness, yoga, chess, etc. That can all be programmed similarly. The main difference would be that if it's moved to Town Hall Plaza, we would not have the on-street dining similar to what we have, because obviously you have EVU, Fiamma, and Standard that all set up essentially permanent seating for the summer. That would not be done on Town Hall Plaza. So we could have takeout, we could have carry out, which we did last year. We provided menus and information about different restaurants on all of the public seating tables. But you would not have that experience of sitting in a restaurant and having your meal while enjoying the entertainment. So that is a significant difference between the Main Street side and the Town Hall Plaza side.
Well, I guess the question is, which I know you haven't done, but could you talk to Mariachi and Joey's Tavern and even the Vietnamese restaurant, who are the three closest restaurants to Town Hall Plaza, and see if they would be interested in setting up outside dining?
I would say, just based on my conversations with many restaurants in the town, that's probably not feasible. You'd have to get food out of a kitchen through a restaurant down the street. Think about it. How are you going to get somebody a new fresh glass of water? You have to walk 5 minutes back to your restaurant. I think logistically it just doesn't make sense. You're serving lukewarm food. I mean, the Standard, for instance, doesn't even have carry out because they have a very specific type of presentation that they want. So I just want to be clear that there is a significant difference in the experience if you are not on Main Street. The food experience will be different. That's not a biased opinion, that is a factual opinion.
Well,
But all the rest of the programming could go similar to what we have on Main Street.
So last year, did people use those QR codes?
Oh, yeah,
So-
quite a bit.
But they didn't have permanent seating, so that they would use the QR codes here.
Yeah, so
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 that
that would
works,
exist,
right?
but what people come for with the Standard, EVU, Fiamma, the
I
tents, the
understand.
seating, that would not
I
exist.
understand that those three restaurants wouldn't have what they've had for the last
Mhm.
3-4 summers.
Correct.
Understood that, but the QR codes worked,
Mhm.
and perhaps Joey's, like, they're pretty close, they run pizzas, and that's pretty easy,
So
they
is
could set up a,
Mariachi.
and mariachi, and, right, but they could set up a water station, I mean, people know how to do outdoor dining, they learned that through COVID. So it is possible that there would be food, it would not be, the Standard would not be participating, and it
Correct.
wouldn't be those specific restaurants, understood.
Mhm.
But the QR code, you just said worked.
Yes.
So we would still have all the programming, right? Which I was a little disappointed about that petition that was going around because it said no live music, no yoga, and that wasn't the truth. No games, all of that still can take place. What it should have said is no Standard, no Fiamma, and no EVU dining. But everything else can happen there.
That's correct.
So
And
the
I
petition,
guess-
I wish would be revised to explain that.
And I guess.
Like, it seemed very much like nothing's gonna happen this summer.
Well, and I guess if they're using QR codes, you could even do that for Fiamma and the other.
Right, 'cause they
maybe
take
not the
out,
Standard
not the
if they don't
Standard.
want to, but certainly
But
Fiamma
maybe
and
the
the other
Standard
one
would set
might
up a
want to.
bar, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about doing like an outdoor license, so that they might
Yes,
set up
I
a
discussed
full-
that with the mayor. I think that would be an absolutely
Sure.
essential addition
Yeah.
to create an open consumption ordinance,
Well,
which is allowed by state law.
That's a
You could
different.
also do something like have food trucks cycle in, so that you would have different options potentially. I mean,
I would advise against that,
Well-
Deputy Mayor.
Okay, well, so the way I see it, these restaurants,
Mhm.
right, have benefited by essentially doubling their square footage for very little money, right? They pay a very small fee, what's it, like $400 for the season. They double their square footage using our streets, okay? And inconveniencing residents, causing potential public safety issues. And they're not really compensating the town for it. They're not, why should these restaurants always be the ones that benefit? Why don't we move move this around? Why don't we try this in a different area? When you guys first started closing the street, you didn't know if people would come, you didn't know if it would be beneficial. So trying it in a different area, we could try it, it may prove to be beneficial. It may give other restaurants an opportunity to participate on a more even footing. Why should the benefits always be going to the same few restaurants? And by having Main Street open, then we are addressing the concerns of the hospital and, you know, it's just far less disruptive. And we can have the same programming as you pointed out.
My only issue is the safety issue. Like I've said to fellow committee members, I want to be able to like sleep at night and not worry about that being closed and something happening.
And so just for the
That's
record,
it.
and I know we've been through this now, I guess, 4 years. Explore does not have the regulatory ability to close the street. What we do is we make a recommendation, what we think will be the best situation for economic development of the downtown. We made that at our March meeting. We had a discussion. Our board made a consensus that they believed the first 3 weekends only in July, and then a full closure of Main Street in August. Ben brought that to the committee. It's up to you how you want to proceed. What I will tell you is that Explore will put on our best professional operation, whatever space we have. But as Alex said, it's really about logistics. There's an enormous amount of work that goes into this. Hiring bands, coordinating with restaurants, seating, games, all that stuff has to be ordered. We need to know where we're going and when we're going there. So Explore has not been part of this discussion because we don't want to be. We don't want to have our fingerprints over this. We did our job. In March, we made a recommendation to Ben. He's our liaison. We are simply asking you to give us direction as to how to proceed. But my best recommendation is to Committeewoman Prupus's point. I think the biggest difference will be that those 3 restaurants that people are so accustomed to will not have the same experience if this is moved to Town Hall. Again, not an opinion, a fact, but there's other ways to compensate, which we'll do if we're required to.
Yeah, I mean, those restaurants could also set up, you know, when I said food trucks, I didn't mean necessarily outside vendors. We could have our in-town restaurants and perhaps others that aren't in the downtown area could set up stations, or, you know, they could rent a truck and they would have the opportunity to offer their cuisine to people that are enjoying the festivities. And I think that probably is a more balanced and fair approach. And you add that on top of this addresses the public safety concerns. To me, this seems like something that would be worth trying for at least a year.
Yeah, I'm not here to argue one way or the other. My board made a recommendation. It's yours to do with it what you will. But if I've given you the answers on logistics that you're happy with, or I'm certainly pleased to answer more, but really it's our request to you is tell us where and when, and we'll get it done.
Talk about the egress and ingress and egress of that plaza?
Yeah, so Town Hall Plaza is a one-way street going from Essex south to Milburn. Today, you go down from Essex and you can make a left turn onto Milburn. You cannot make a left from Milburn. However, there's one parking lot that's a small lot that's used for people that live on Milburn Avenue in apartments. What we would have to do is have a temporary contraflow of traffic. So there would be a barrier at Essex Street. There'd be a barrier at what is today the exit, which is the second cutout. And then, so nobody could drive their car onto Essex into the pedestrian mall accidentally. They would have to make a left onto Town Hall Plaza, which they can't do today. We'll have a VMS up that will say left turns, parking lot only. You would go into the lot, park, and then because there's so few cars, we'll use that entrance as an exit as well. That's the only way that you can actually get vehicles in and out.
I'm just gonna comment on that and not to necessarily contradict Mr. Grillo, but one is obviously we would go through the police department and traffic bureau to better understand how we would utilize this. We do have very few cars that park in lot 6, which is overnight and business parking permit. If there is an ability to be able to displace them temporarily for the summer, I think that we could look into that as well. I would suggest that if the decision is to move to Town Hall Plaza, that it is a full closure 7 days a week, that we are not pulling up and taking down barricades and moving things or needing to employ the services of DPW for the entire summer.
And I concur. I think it would just add to confusion of drivers. At least if they know for a certain period of time that left turn is allowed and that there's only one entrance and exit, it'll just keep things safer.
Yeah.
What's the schedule of letting Steve and Explore know? Like, when are we gonna vote on this?
Yeah, if you come to consensus tonight.
Then at the next meeting will be a first read?
I can start moving things forward with
Oh,
consensus.
so you wanna, okay.
Yeah, whatever consensus you come to tonight, we'll assume then that, that will be the final ordinance. And we can start booking bands, we can start purchasing equipment, and then we'll have to do some work with Public Works. There is the availability for overhead lights on Town Hall Plaza, so we can have that installed, et cetera. So I think it's really up to you guys in terms of, again, it'll be a very different experience, but if you feel like that's the way you want to go, then just give us the heads up and we'll move
So,
forward.
Mr. Grillo, it's, kind of why I'm exploring it so hard is it's very intriguing to have the lights and the bands, the programming, and then having the availability of food on those premises. From that standpoint, what would the mayor or the TC have to approve? Yeah, I guess the liquor, I want to understand those 3 points of what they would have to do.
Yeah, so
Or
first,
what we would have to do.
first and foremost, any road closure greater than 48 hours that has sort of a permanent nature like that has to be approved by ordinance and be approved by the DOT. That's one thing. The other thing is if there is a desire to move forward with the outdoor consumption license, we'll have to go through that process, which would likely include some sort of ordinance.
And
So
is that can the restaurants set up bars and also BYOB?
So,
Is that both?
hey, kind of first time me, first time you, so we're gonna have to,
I think I have an answer.
Good, go ahead, Steve.
So the liquor license, let's use Joey's Tap and Tavern. They're the only one with a liquor license sort of proximate to the area. I don't believe it would carry across the street. So then nobody that has a liquor license today would be able to serve liquor in Town Hall Plaza. That's the standard has a liquor license, they can serve it in front of their space. That's why you can serve it on Main Street. It's an extension of premise.
Okay.
2 years ago, Governor Murphy signed into law a public consumption allowance. So each municipality has the right to dictate a particular space and time where public consumption is allowed. That's essentially BYOB. You can bring a bottle of wine, you can bring a 6-pack, whatever you'd like. There's no restrictions. What I would recommend to you is that you would establish that it would be Town Hall Plaza, right, between Essex and Milburn. There'd be a certain time from duration, and then you could even do it to say it's only Thursday at 5 o'clock to Sunday at 5 o'clock. It is completely within your discretion to how you want to do it.
But if we wanted to set up, say, like a beer garden and have different restaurants, like run that beer garden.
Yeah.
Could we do that like they do in Rocktoberfest? Like, what, can we do that?
They'd have to get a separate permit.
But I mean,
Yeah.
is it possible, yes?
I believe it is, but I think you'd still have to go through the state liquor authority.
It's possible though that we could set up a beer garden and have different restaurants stock and run and sell that beer garden for different.
You could also have, for instance, liquor stores. So let's say Unwind Boutique
Right. they could
wanted
do it
to
too.
set up a wine tasting. We would program that as Explore.
That'd be so fun.
They can do wine tastings for 2 hours, and then if you'd like to purchase wine,
And then
you
drink
call, they send a runner down, you then have that bottle of wine.
That's cool.
Again, it's all about giving us the ability to get ahead of this. We're having a major logistical change. And so it's gonna be part of what Amanda and I have to do to really revamp this if you guys just do decide to move it. So that's just the caveat there.
Got it.
I mean, so this seems to address the safety concerns and it potentially allows more businesses to benefit from the closure. I think it's probably worth considering, try it for a year, see how it goes, and reassess next year if need be.
I also think like it's new and I know that everyone loves the Main Street closure, but I think that considering all the different voices and perspectives, like there's some people that don't love it, that Town Hall Plaza, like you guys could make it great. Like we don't know. And if we go into it thinking like this could be great, let's like give it our best and like really talk it up and really give it all the energy. Like it might be like, wow, or like it's great that we did this and we want to keep it. You know, like to start off with that attitude, I think would be great.
It could definitely be great. I think so. Lighting, plantings, I think it could be great.
Yeah, I think, Mayor, we would need some sort of set aside in the budget, a minimal number, but this was not in our budget for this year. So, Usually the township covers the cost of the lighting, when we've done like the art alley and such. That's a very small, but planters, things like that to beautify it. We've already spent our planter budget. You'll start seeing all of your plants blooming now that it's raining. But yeah, something small like that would be very helpful.
I think you're gonna need some tents too, because I think like some tents were provided by, I don't know, were those your tents or? were they
No,
restaurant
the tents on Main Street are Fiamma and Ebu. They
So
provide their
you're
own.
gonna need some tents for Town Hall Plaza.
Yeah, we could do tents, yeah. We have a pretty good setup in terms of benches and chairs. We also program the space we call the Oasis, which is where the fountain behind the courtyard is. We have seating there, and then of course the art alley has seating as well. So Amanda and I just did an inventory of what survived last year. But that's coming out of our budget. But if you have any funding to support planters, would be very helpful.
How about you guys?
I think that's, it's my recollection, Town Hall Plaza, a relatively new street. I don't even think that always existed. And so, the only inconvenience is if you're trying to make that left turn, you have to go all the way down 2 blocks to the other left turn. So much less of an inconvenience than Main Street. So I think we should try it. And I think it'll be good. And I'm sure with all of your marketing skills, you'll make it excellent.
Committeeman Stoller?
I'm just trying to envision it. I mean, I can really envision a Little Italy type feel with lights crisscrossed and such. The only concern I would have is if it turns into a kind of town Siberia and people don't show up. But I guess we can measure that as we go. I mean, there's, that's gonna be the barometer with the population. And I guess you have a couple of good programs show up that will drive business too.
And if you're downtown, and you'll still hear the music, and so you'll want to go over to see the band.
And we do collect data on an annual basis. Last year, we did a very robust study of users. We used AI data that was collected through a third-party source this year, which gave us the numbers really, literally by hour, how many people are there. So I feel comfortable that if you want me to come back and tell you whether it worked or not, I'll be able to do so.
And I think part of it too is how we communicated, to the 500 people, 550 people or so that want to close it, because it is a hybrid and it is a compromise. It is a hybrid. It's still being closed. I do think it's a hybrid, and seeing the surgeon there who I spoke to for a long time today and understanding the safety issue. And you said trouble sleeping at night.
Well, I mean, I don't want to have to worry about anything.
And the liability for the town. I mean, last year we
That's
got,
a good
we got
point,
lucky
too,
that individual didn't pass away, right? Otherwise, he could very well have a case. I mean, he may already have a case, but the liability issue is not something that should be discounted.
Or somebody goes and gets sloppy drunk at the beer garden and stumbles into the street, gets hit by a truck. I'm sure there's liability there as well. So let's be
There's
smart
risks
about
in
it.
everything you do.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay. All right, we're good.
Just
I think we have consensus.
Consensus,
We have
yeah.
consensus.
Only let them comment before.
Thank you.
So I don't think we're voting.
We're
on that.
almost done.
Are we?
There'll be an ordinance.
Right. So
that
he
we'll vote
asked
on.
for it.
So
so-
he's just going to start
Right.
planning.
No, I was just saying,
Okay.
we're not voting on anything, are we right now?
No, we're not voting on
Okay, all
anything.
right.
There'll be an ordinance.
I just want to be clear though, you've come to a consensus and that is the direction that Steve and I will be.
Correct. All right.
Unless we otherwise tell you something different.
All right, final public comment. This public comment period is to allow for final comments from the community. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and whether you are a Milburn resident and or property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and are readily available to the public. A reminder that in order to help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. I will now open public comment.
Charlie Bambauer, Short Hills resident for 27 years. I go to Newark Airport, travel on business. They have iPads. I can order from any restaurant in the terminal. They deliver it to me. Why is this any different on Town Plaza? You can have kiosks, which restaurants can rent. Restaurants can hire runners themselves, or they could use services like DoorDash or Uber Eats or something. I'm sure there's plenty of people that would love some summer employment that are going to school. It's a food court. It works. I think it's a brilliant idea and I support it 100%. Thank you.
I'll be brief. I'm on a heart attack call shortly. So 2 points. One is clarification. Don't waste time looking at ambulance times, emergency, police, fire. They can get to the hospital. They'll run you over to get to the hospital. What we're talking about is the 75 staff members at St. Barnabas, Coopman Barnabas, that have trouble getting to the hospital overnights. So if you have a heart attack at 3 o'clock in the morning, the staff is not there in the cath lab. They have to come there, 4 people and the doctor. I have no trouble getting there from Deerfield. But if they live in Clark or they live in Kenilworth, they're gonna have trouble getting through Milburn on a Saturday afternoon if that street is closed, okay? So don't worry about the firemen and the ambulances, they'll get through. It's what these people are telling you, that they don't want this closed, that they have trouble getting in, including EMT people. The second thing is, I'm glad we're hearing the word compromise. I would not like to see what happened last year, where it's closed for 60 days, whatever it was. So I can live with the 2 propositions I heard, which is maybe just Saturday and Sunday, maybe the school plaza thing. But I don't want to see what happened last year because it was too risky. Something's going to happen. So that's my only plea. I implore you to do something different this year, whether it's Saturday and Sunday, less traffic. We'll warn them to go around the town, or would we change the venue to something else? I think that would be a nice, I'm glad we're using the word compromise. I don't want to see what happened last year. And I'm all for it. I mean, listen, I was down there. I saw the kids playing chess. It was a good time. It's just not the right location, maybe. I go, yeah.
Mike Stotts again, Executive Director of Paper Mill. I just want to thank you all. It's been a tremendous last few months in discussion about the paper mill project. We really appreciate the support. As a point of clarification, this is a partnership. The township owns the property, it owns the building, and the investments you're about to make are going to be in improving the public safety problems that we have, some of the hazardous issues that are caused by failing retaining walls, preventing some of those things that you were just talking about that are things that the township could be liable for as well. So thank you again on behalf of everyone who's here from Paper Mill, our audiences. We greatly appreciate this and look forward to moving forward.
Real quick, Richie Cyber, resident. Great discussion about moving it to the town plaza, keeping everybody happy. And I'm sure most of the people in the room here have stayed in hotels and ordered room service. They bring it perfectly. I'm sure the Standard can figure it out, how to bring the room service. Maybe they'll buy a couple of carts, refrigerated or heated or whatever, roll over. I'll be happy to go to the town plaza, sit at a nice table, place an order. We all have cell phones. Call over there. 10 minutes later, pulls up. Everybody's happy. Doctor's happy. I'm happy. Be happy.
Third time. All right, Scott Ruther, resident. So in the spirit of compromise, just to let you know, this is totally different. What you guys are suggesting is not a compromise, it's a totally different experience. All right, you guys are concerned about traffic, you guys are concerned about safety. Okay, by making next to Town Hall a closed street, you have to make a left into that spot to get into the parking lot. So that probably backs up a little traffic going down Milburn Avenue. Now, if you have to make the left, and safety, if Clemenz's and Joey's are going to be delivering pizzas across that street, that traffic is continuing to go because that's not going to be closed off. Then you have waiters and waitresses bringing food, into a closed off area with traffic this way, traffic that way. So you're not worried about the residents and the people who are going there or the people working in the area, so you're putting them in jeopardy, which you guys just have to be aware of that. Okay, you're doing something totally different that will create other unsafe circumstances. As far as compromise for Main Street, just to let you know, those, the 3 restaurants you talk about, without Main Street closed, for instance, two weeks ago, Beauty and the Beast was playing at the high school. I was at the Standard. There was a 2-hour wait because they do have the best food in the area, or some of those restaurants. And then people went to Clemenza's, they went to Caramia, they went to a lot of places because those restaurants were bringing people into town and creating the vibrant businesses and the people coming in order to help the restaurants and the businesses, in the circumference. So what you're doing now is just creating a totally different situation that might be good. We could all be optimistic. It might work. Hopefully waiters and waitresses crossing the street don't get hurt, or hopefully it doesn't stop traffic in either way and people come. But you're doing something totally different. This isn't a compromise for Main Street. A compromise for Main Street would be, like you guys suggested a little bit earlier, maybe not closing June, July, and August, but closing July 3rd through Labor Day, or maybe closing, Thursday through Sunday and keeping it open Monday through Wednesday. June, there's a lot of traffic. Schools are in session, people going to businesses and work, I get it. So June should not be closed. Maybe that's when you can close, the section next to Town Hall, and then have both of them and then pick up data on what's more crowded, what creates more commerce, where the best experience is. So by changing the circumstances, it's a totally different. So it's not a compromise. It's like apples to like sour grapes versus apples to apples. So if that's what you guys want to do, that's what you're stepping into, which could work. I'll come, but I'm just saying it's not going to be it's totally different than closing Main Street and bringing people into our town to build the restaurants and create commerce and have a great experience with live music and community. I'm out of time.
Anyone online?
We have one on.
Same dog, same Christine. Okay, my last comments. I'm actually I'm very saddened by I have like one thing, it's ethics and honesty, and I'm very disappointed that I'm going to start with you, Annette, that you made a comment that you're not responsible for selecting or putting up the person for the committee. You very much are that. I've actually had multiple committee members tell me that, and other committee members in the past. So I think Christine Gotti even said that once. So I don't know where you come off saying that. It's disturbing to me. I'm sorry. And I don't mean to go at you personally, but I need to call that out. I'm sorry. Ben, I'm really concerned how you address this whole groupthink thing. I feel like that's a strategy to deflect that there's a bunch of people that think alike on the committee, and that I'm one of those people. It's kind of interesting. I'm probably the most out of box thinker that's been successful with a bunch of startup companies. And was kind of offended by that, actually. I'm also offended by the fact that you also told me that Annette was responsible for putting that person up. And so that kind of bothers me a little bit. I think you guys are making a very, very great mistake. I really liked Mr. Cohen's comment a lot. It made the most sense to me tonight about the environmental commission, that you'd want to have environmentalists, not somebody like from Exxon being on it. Having a person, I'm sorry for the barks, having a person like Mr. And I've his first name, Venkatesh, he is hostile towards this committee. He is angry about what's going on. And that's something you should take up with the TC committee members, because you guys vote on it. The committee just makes recommendations. He has absolutely no skills for this, okay? It is the equivalent of a difference between a plastic surgeon and a chainsaw operator. I'm sorry. A fintech person has no capability, and spinning it, okay, like it is, I'm an engineer, a computer science engineer is not a mechanical engineer. It's not a person who understands land engineering, construction engineering, etc. No business. And if that's the only skill set you can even add, which was like really hard pressed to spin, I'm sorry, not qualified. I'm greatly disturbed by the township's committee vote on this. I think that it clearly shows to me actions speak louder than words, that this town is committed to bad development and to basically allowing builders come in unfettered and just develop. And you'll see a lot of big high density housing going up.
Thank you.
In Old Fort Hills. Thank you very much. Have a
Thank you.
nice night.
Anyone else online? Wait, let's just do it.
Yes, hi, Jean Pasternak. I'd like to say a couple things as well. I too am really offended by the comments made about people who complain, the complainers. You know, this has to stop. And I think the mayor, really, you have responsibility to manage the meeting and to welcome all people who come to these meetings that have comments and feedback. That the labeling and the disparagement of members of this community who take their time, show their interest, come, give their time to help solve problems, offer solutions, sit on committees, do the job to bring good people into public service. I think it's absolutely appalling that nothing is said and that you just sit there and allow that kind of talk to occur in your meeting room tonight. The second thing I'd like to say is the way in which the conversation went regarding the I'm sorry, hang on. The way in which the conversation went on with the appointment to the HPC. First of all, not all the facts came through about this individual, how his name came to be, the number of things that went on behind the scenes to get him put forward. I think I echo what Christine Best said, that there are things going on here that are not being direct and honest about how these appointments get made. And it's high time that people are direct with the public about how the operation of the Township Committee and its appointments are made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
I know you're tired, Tara. Al Carlin, a resident for 30 years. I'd just like to, for a change, commend the committee tonight for doing some really good things as far as considering the safety of the residents. And I think you came up with a great idea as far as studying what could possibly be a great solution. And as far as helping the town. As far as there could be a jitney service going to a particular location, shuttles from different locations to bring people to an area other than Main Street. Different ways to get people to another location. Let's explore different ways of introducing people to different areas of the town. I mean, there are ways. I mean, it's marketing. Let's market the township. I mean, besides Main Street. Just a thought.
Thank you. Any more phones? Oh. Good evening.
Hello? Hi, how are you? Township resident Antonio Braca. Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out here. Everybody's asleep.
You're good.
Sorry I couldn't make it this evening. However, I do just wanted to discuss it. I've had conversations with many people. everyone knows that I've been pretty adamant about the Main Street closure, signing a petition, and be fair, or unfair, or my intent is never to alleviate fun from the town. It was to just kind of make it more convenient. And I believe what the surgeon said tonight was very appropriate. That at least we're looking at a compromise, and that there's a possibility. I can't get the halo out. At least there's a possibility for a compromise and another solution, and maybe it does give some other people some flexibility, some other restaurants some flexibility. Maybe it does give other restaurants some flexibility, or maybe it does stay where it is on Saturdays and Sundays. But I think it's better than a full closure all summer long. And I know you guys say July and August, and that's the whole summer. So I understand you're eliminating June because of school, but to me, that's all summer. So that's my 2 cents worth. Again, I appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to look into other options.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jerry Kung, Short Hills resident, speaking on behalf of myself this time. I'm a little concerned, as Ms. Best also said, in terms of the 2 words, transparency and accountability. Mayor Romano, I saw your body language when you shook your head when someone said that the mayor appoints or nominates. New Jersey statutes annotated 40:55D 107, subsection C. The mayor, or if so specified by ordinance, the chairman of the planning board shall appoint all members of the commission and shall designate at the time of appointment, blah, 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 about alternates. My understanding of this process, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the mayor nominates the candidate and the candidate is seated with the advice and consent of the majority of the township committee. So, I think, again, going back to the words transparency and accountability, I'm going to call him Frank because I'm allowed to call him Frank. Frank had asked you a direct question in that there were probably a dozen candidates for the HPC. Did you interview all of them? Or did you not? Because in terms of transparency and accountability, if you did not actually vet all of the candidates for this position, how could you in good conscience nominate someone above all of the others that you did not speak to? Is that accountability in terms of good government? So I ask you this question. Did you or did you not speak to personally all of the members of this community who had applied for a seat on the Historic Preservation Commission? Thank you.
Anyone else? So I'll go first, since I seem to be the focus this evening. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to close public comment. The way that we made decisions on putting volunteers on boards was consensus from day one. So from when Committeeman Stoller and Deputy Mayor Saccomendi were elected, we made every decision as far as boards together as a consensus. And whether or not I'm allowed to make a mayoral appointment or not, I have not governed that way since day one. And I won't. I did not interview everyone that applied for HPC or recreation or community service or whatever other board. I forgot how many applications we received last year, but I think they were in the hundreds. So no, we do not interview every volunteer that comes before us. We go through the volunteer interest forms and we base our decisions more or less, or who we want to speak to from those boards. If someone from the committee has a suggestion as to someone that they want to fill a vacancy, then it's up to that person to talk to the rest of the committee to see if they have a consensus. And if they have a consensus, we move forward. That's it. That's as transparent as you're gonna get. So there's no back deals, there's no political agenda or anything like that. So, you know, we can finish that. And I'm not gonna get into, political agendas and ulterior motives in this setting, because, I'm just not gonna bring myself down to that level, and I'm sorry, you're just not gonna get a rise out of me on that. So as far as the Town Hall Plaza, it's not a two-way street, it's a one-way street on both sides of it. So there's no traffic backup. And in front of Joe's or Clemenza's, there's a crosswalk there. So hopefully, you know, if need be, we could put up little reminders for stop for people in the crosswalk. There's no flasher there, right? No, there's no flasher there. And that's all I have. Anyone else want to comment?
Okay, so just a couple things too, and I want to address Christine Best, because the mayor does make the appointment. However, it's incumbent upon the TC members to get that consensus, as you said. And I pushed very hard for Christine Best, but I didn't get consensus. And I think everyone on this dais will say that I did push hard for Christine Best, but I could not get consensus. That's why she was not moved forward. I made my vote based on the person that was put forward in front of me. Now, the concern of groupthink really is nerve-wracking to me, because we did run on a platform of transparency. And the words that I heard is, we're concerned about development in Old Short Hills. Those words just came out of her mouth. Every candidate that they've put forward to replace is an Old Short Hills road. And listen, I don't care where they live. When I interview a candidate and I do the research, I do the work, I roll up my sleeves, I ask the questions, I don't even look where they live. I look at them based on their ability to do the job and to work with individuals and make the commission stronger. And that's what I've done. In terms of Scott, that's a good point you made, very good. And we have to look at that. So the idea of food runners running across Milburn Avenue, Essex Street, and Main Street is going to be, will probably be problematic. So we have to understand that issue. And you know, the surgeon, as I talked to him earlier today, we used the word compromise. Let's think about that too. Maybe we do a weekend closure of Main Street, because I don't want a runner getting hit by a car on Essex or Milburn Avenue or Main Street. So we have to take that into account as well. And that's it.
Anyone else?
I'll just say, I mean, I guess it's a question of what's the definition of consensus. Obviously, the appointment went through. I didn't support it, but 3 people did, and that's the consensus. So that's what happened.
Yeah, so I mean, I would add, had 3 of us, not including you, Annette, came and said, this is who we want on the committee, and if you didn't want that person, would you still have nominated them?
What do you mean, not including me? I'm equal to everyone.
No, so I'm saying, let's say theoretically that you and Tara were opposed to a candidate we put forward. And Ben, Michael, and I say, we want to nominate this person. We want to put them forward. We have 3 votes. That's a consensus. But you are the mayor. You can control whether that person gets nominated or not. Would you put them forward?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
There
I'll
have been
hold you to
times
that.
where I didn't agree with you on certain things, but I supported you publicly.
That
So-
is true.
Okay, that's it.
I think she's already proved that.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think I've already
I
proved
think
that.
she's
So I
already
think
proved
that's
that to
it.
you.
So, it's whatever. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Good night.
You did a great job.